Good evening, everybody. Welcome to ELO Hell Season 4.5 of GitGud. Starting up with a rookie division, we got Platypus coming up against Vulcan, who, sad to say, could not find space in their name to fit the word plat into it. I'm Big Hungry Phil, and to help bring you the action on the other side of the desk is Moxie. Good evening, Moxie. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Phil. I'm doing even better because I've just had a little look over the team sheets, and one thing sticks out in particular, and that is none of these players say that May is their preferred hero for the team.
Interesting.
Fingers crossed, Phil. If you go into games at the moment without a May and you run into a team who does have a May, you are at a huge disadvantage, but maybe we'll get to see two teams without a May on an equal standing and a couple of other DPS finally get to take a little bit more of that spotlight.
Well, look, if we were ever going to see it anywhere, it was going to be down here in the rookie division, the lowest of the ranks that we have in the GitGud tournament structure. These are players that, gold maybe just edging towards plat a little bit. So we probably don't have specialists. We probably don't have people with massive hero pools. We've got people playing what feels good and right to them, which is often quite different to the meta. We're going to see a lot more, I think, comfort picks down here. Although, Moxie, look, we've fallen into the trap. I can currently see picked on the hero select screen at least 2 Mays. Hopefully no more than that, but at least 2.
Yeah, I mean, can you even get a third May? I don't think Hell is going to be lending out any more demons to Blizzard today.
We've got 3-1 in the experimental mode. It's only a matter of time before we're playing all May all the time, an experimental card.
Yeah, I think I've just got PTSD. Well, it is actually going to be 1 May on the board, Phil. One team without a May, and so you are going to be at such a huge disadvantage if you're Demon's Druid, because they're going to get separated from the team unless that Lucio is able to be there with that speed boost.
Well, notice we've got 2 very different approaches here. One up on the high ground, one on the low ground for now, and the high ground traditionally that little bit more advantageous. Surprisingly, we've got Lord up until right this second playing very much down on the low ground, and the second they pop their head above the parapet, it gets popped right off again. Mazimi on McCree able to deal a lot of damage in there. Luckily, Nope there to bring Lord back into the fight. Eternal Assault comes in swinging, falls low, has to take a couple of steps back, wait for the supports to top him back up again. Ice is going to be taking a nap just behind the point, and now we're going to see them aggressing in over the top. Neither team managing to get the first pick just yet, although Mazimi for the second time in a row has managed to find Lord. The Nano Boost is going to come out from the wild card, but Demon Druid is going to be the first to get that Shadow on the line. Gets the Shadow in onto Demon's Druid. Demon's Druid not taken down by that, survives their way through it, and it looks like we are going to see the first point flip over.
Yeah, after such a long fight as well, so ultimates have been built up for both teams now coming into this next fight, Phil. Specifically, we are going to have Empire Devil approaching this Blizzard, and if you're able to get that one online before Sakyu gets the sound barrier on, you have such a nice way of just opening the fight out immediately, but you have to be very careful about how you play this. Code Eclipse is going to be there with that Diva in that mech, with that defense matrix, just waiting to ruin your day.
There's nothing worse than having that hard worked for Blizzard. Except maybe receiving the Dragon Strike to the face. Luckily, they were able to take a step to the side, but it has now bottled them all up in the room. Self-destruct coming out from Code Eclipse to get the mech back. We'll have the mech back, unsurprisingly. Did manage to live through that period of pilot form Diva. Vulcan now starting to press in, but they are being held at choke. And Eternal Assault continuing to take a lot of damage. Blizzard in with the self-destruct. Ice is going to get Kazubel. And Sliok with the opener with the equalizer going to find Lord. Demon's Druid with another shatter on the line. Gets the wild card, follows up with Nope, and that's going to be another one team fight for Platypus.
Oh, Eternal Assault just a little bit too aggressive there when he had the nano. So Demon Druid just sidestepped the enemy Reinhardt and shattered the team who were left without a shield, and that is how Platypus were able to keep winning that fight. Now you're going to have Slag with this Dragon Strike. They don't have an Orisa, so they don't have anything that can get a pull, so it's much more likely going to be a zoning ultimate as Vulcan try to approach cutting through one of those side rims to try to cut the team in half.
Well, they're coming for another try here. They've got to be a little more decisive this time. They don't actually have any ults on the board except for Eternal Assault. And Skliok, no slouch, gets 3 with the Dragon Strike. That's 1 and done. Platypus looking to take this. Vulcan are going to get one more go, but they've got to be quick about it.
Yeah, this is final fight territory for Vulcan, as you pointed out, Phil. They have a Shatter online, but it is so little going up against, well, what Platypus are going to have, which is so much. Ice is going to swap onto the hamster, trying to get that touch going first.
Oh, Mazimi sneaks through too, stuffs them up at the choke. They can't get through. Shadow will come out, but doesn't really matter. Nobody on point from Vulcan, and Platypus are going to take the opener.
And that, I think, goes to show how meta changes depending on what SR you are for, because the team that had a Mei was not the team that won.
I think it can be really tempting sometimes to go, and it's happened a lot, I think, during GOATs. People went, oh, GOATs is meta. We'll just run GOATs and we'll get an easy win. You've got to know how it works. It's not just like magically 6 heroes on the board and you get the win. Especially
because now you've got D.Va back in the meta, Phil. And defense boosters being on a 3-second cooldown, defense matrix being bolstered back to what it was in the days of GOATs. It is extremely hard to slip a blizzard by a D.Va if she is in her mech. And there is almost no punishment for her. She's able to get away. If you miss a blizzard, well, you get a whole lot of comeuppance.
Indeed. Well, we are going to see Platypus taking the high ground, or the tanks at the very least taking the high ground. Might have seen Casabel caught a little bit out of position. Demon's Druid is going to drop down to help them out with that. Mazumi's going to get the first on the board with the D-Mech onto Ice. Eternal Salt, the equalizer onto Mazimi, but this is incredibly trading. Demon's Druid doing really well here as the tip of the spear for Platypus, getting 2 on the board. Sliok with the cleanup. Got to get rid of the pesky Mei. Wall comes up, but this is all just delaying tactics, because Sliok was able to climb that and bury that arrow deep in the cerebral cortex of the Mei.
So Platypus have a really interesting way of going into teamfights. They make sure to chunk Eternal Salt's HP down so far that the Reinhardt can do nothing but hold his shield up. Then before he's even dead, they move on to the rest of the team and just sweep the legs of the DPS out after the supports, then finally clean up that Reinhardt. And yes, it's allowed him to build up Shatter a lot faster than some on his team, but he's just being chunked down again and again.
With a low ground approach for Vulcan, they will get hit by the anti-nade, but they're able to get the first pick in this fight, and now a lot of damage is off the board. Lord's able to climb it, close the distance, and find Demon's Druid here as well. This is such a good opening for Vulcan, and it looks like we're going to see Platypus more or less give up the point here. They know when they've been beat, although as I said that, we do get one little contest. Code Eclipse was trying to keep that going a little bit longer, but wisely decides to back out.
And this is where Vulcan can really come into their own with the Mei pick. You don't have to be necessarily good at playing Mei, you just have to know where to place your walls. And if you're in control of the point, you know the routes that Platypus are going to have to take to try to approach it, so you can try to separate Demon's Druid from the team.
Well, Sliok did use the Dragon Strike there, but mostly just to damage the masonry. Code Eclipse coming in with a self-destruct from long in the back, not able to find anything. Here's the answer. Demon's Druid almost missed where that bomb was. Shadow came out from Eternal Salt. Looks like it's not found too much value, although Sliok is going to go down. They throw in the Death Blossom. It gets slept. He gets woken. Wraith forms his way out of it, and Vulcan are now going to take the lead. And they're pressing the advantage, getting right up into enemy spawn.
This could be a little bit too aggressive, Phil. They have to pop the Nano Boost to allow the Reinhardt to get away.
Well, this is all time on the clock, though. Like they've now got 50%. You can build up a Nano Boost fairly quickly if your tanks are a bit greedy.
Yeah, but now you're going to have to worry about Demon's Druid having steroids when Eternal Salt is running empty on reserves.
Indeed, but they will have 3 ults coming into this for Platypus. They certainly have the openings. It's going to be down to Demon's Druid, really, to land a really big shatter. So watch for the mind game here with Eternal Salt. The footsie battle and the shield battle. He knows the shield is low. Look at the cracks in it. Might have the position here. In comes the shatter. Puts 2 on the ground. But it was a little bit late. The blizzard doesn't get interrupted. And Mazimi is able to come in and clean up even through that blizzard. Getting 2 with the Deadeye. 1 with the melee. The D-Mech comes through from Sliok. And that's going to be Platypus coming back in and recapping the point. But it's one fight territory here.
And you just gave up your fight-winning ultimate Blizzard. But Devil tried to go for that defensive ability, but the team just weren't able to get the cleanup going, and so they start getting picked off one by one instead. And now Platypus, they do have to win this next fight and the fight after that, Phil, but they're the ones with ultimates on the board, so advantage to that team.
Oh, that was a nice dragon. Really slowed down Vulcan on their way in. Lord had to burn the Wraith form to get in. Demon's Druid with a big cleave coming in with the Nano Boost. He's going to get 2 and a 3rd. Nope. Maybe giving up a little bit there with a wave on the stairs. Knew that they weren't long for the world. Platypus holding on and coming up on the Earth Shatter again.
Yeah, Vulcan would just putty beneath the hammer of Demon's Druid, who had that nano boost onto him. And yes, Wildcard is gonna have one to try to place onto Eternal Assault, but Slyok shuts
the opener.
down with the Maypick.
That's unfortunate. They're still going in. They know that they kind of have to take this when they can. Self-destruct in over the top. Too high, too wide, not finding much of anything. But Eternal Soul is able to open things up here, taking Demon's Druid out of the fight. And Mazimi falls not too long after. In comes the Death Blossom, just for good measure. Shatter thrown into, puts Code Eclipse on the ground. Pilot Form Diva taken out, nothing out of the self-destructs. We might get a last-second contest here from Demon's Druid, but it's going to take a lot for them to make this work.
Oh, he's been spotted out as well.
Oh,
Gets
no,
the sleep onto him. No Black Shadow for the Rhine today.
Unfortunate, but Mazimi will get an equalizer. Lord is now off the table. Here's the high noon from Mazimi. He's found some good ones so far today. Can't get that one. We'll get the D-Mech. The D-Mech comes through, and then the kill onto Ice. Platypus are in with a real chance here. If they can keep this going that little bit longer, they might be able to build up something to work with here. Although, as I say that, they're a long way from ultimates. The nearest one is going to be Kazabel. And with Mazimi going down, we're back to 4 on the field. Demon's Druid, with a casual fire strike, finds Eternal Soul at the back of the point, and they've somehow dragged this back. They've got the big point presence here. Ice has come back on the Wrecking Ball. We'll be able to stall this out for quite a while, and they've got a nano-boosted Mei to deal with. And Empire Devil is now very close, right on top of having that ult to completely stuff this up. Code Eclipse wasn't there with the E. Demon's Druid going down. The D-Mech onto Code Eclipse. Slyok and Sakul, the only ones left on the point, keeping this going. But Mazimi's managing to get kills here. I'm so impressed that Platypus been able to keep this going. They might even turn this right the way around. This was Vulcan's fight to win, and they've just handed it all the way back over to Platypus.
Yeah, and Kazabel has that coalescence built up as well, so if anyone from Vulcan tries to get this last minute contest going, they'll just be met with the Kamehameha. Platypus, Phil, we have to take a hats off to that team for keeping their cool all the way through that contest.
That was that contest in theory shouldn't have worked, but they were just able to find key picks, and I think we're getting the play of the game here from Slyok, who did get a nice big dragon over. I think this is what we're going to see from Slyok. No, maybe just headshots, just dinksers.
I mean, I think we'll get to see it being sent. No, there we go.
Doesn't need it. But it seems like Mazimi kept coming back in and just finding that key pick at the right time on the McCree, and that's kind of what seemed to do for Vulcan, because we saw Slyok get a pick onto I believe, scrabbling for names here, the Mei player for Vulcan on the way in on their recon test. He's just been performing so well today.
Yeah, so basically, it's the gamble when you have a McCree, because McCree in contest times, he's not the most mobile of characters, Phil. He's got a roll.
He can do a triple tail.
Yeah, he can do that. He can try to moonwalk his way out of fights, but other than that, he is pretty much just stuck with that base level run ability. But when you know that teams are going to be coming into that overtime contest with characters like Tracer, who gets shut down with a flashbang, putting a McCree in, yes, sacrifices mobility, but does guarantee that you can at least shut down one of the counter picks on the enemy side. And it's for that reason that the Tracer isn't able to just zigzag constantly around. Same for the Diva. Defense matrix can eat a lot of things, but you're trying to concentrate in the flurry of that fight on damage that's coming in, not so much the CC abilities.
I feel a little bit like Vulcan might have a little more success, and that's not to say they didn't have success there, because they did get that to 99.99. I feel like they're going to have more success if they can focus down, if they can isolate who the key target is, and it might actually be Mazimi here, and just continuously take them out of the fight so they can't get value. Obviously, it's only the first map of the series, so maybe we'll see that adaptation come through them as we go forward through the series, but for now, target focus seemed a little bit off.
Yeah, and another thing that seemed a little bit off was that they stuck with the meta. And the Blizzards that came in when you had that overtime contest, that Blizzard comes in, and that should have shut things down immediately, but it only catches the Reinhardt from Platypus out, which is why Platypus are able to get back the numbers in, get bodies back onto the point, not worry about that one ultimate that they have to avoid. Empire says here that the most played hero for the team is Hanzo. I'm not seeing any mention of a mate, and I'm a little bit worried that Vulcan are getting lost in that mentality that you yourself mentioned a little bit earlier, that teams feel like they have to run what is the meta picks that perhaps not quite as well versed in as the comfort pick.
There's a lot to be said for the value of comfort picks of heroes that you know intimately. The timings, the ranges, the curve on the shots. If you are picking up a hero that is the meta that you just haven't played enough, then I feel like you're doing a real disservice for your team. So, another adaptation I'd like to see, as you yourself mentioned, would be Vulcan maybe playing a little bit more safely in terms of what to pick.
Yeah, because they say that their favorite hero is the Hanzo, and we're seeing on the other side Platypus. They're getting away with running a Mei. They don't have to worry about the chokes. The Dragon Strike is still finding value. The Hansel was still finding normal headshots. You can absolutely run that DPS in a composition at this rank, because there are a couple of ways that I judge Mei players. A big one of them is harshly, yes, indeed. No. So Mei is one of those heroes who has a very low skill floor and a very high skill ceiling, and it all depends on exactly how high you can get to those chandeliers, Phil, because you have so many things that the Mei can do that a GM Mei player can do so much better. You can hold teams at chokes. You can get the wall when the team is trying to disengage. You can try and just wall a support off so that they can't heal the main tank who's moved in a little bit too close to the action. I know I've seen a couple of Annas who believe that their Reinhardt is perfectly fine and they stay extremely far away from the fight, thinking that they can just lob in support from afar, and then suddenly a Meo pops up and surprise! Your main tank's headed back to spawn. But another thing that I judge on is blizzards. When they put blizzards in, how they put blizzards in, whether they do it when the diva is DMAX, whether they do it when something's already baited out defense matrix, like say a Deadeye. And what I'm seeing from Vulcan at the moment is that they've got the basic mate players down, they've got the CC, they've got knowing when to put the blizzard in. It's just that little bit of a step up that they still need to achieve, knowing to put it in when the diva is DMAXed, or knowing to put it in when it's going to catch more than 2 or 3 people out.
It makes me think the importance of the ability and the knowledge of when to use walls is such a key thing, that there is, in fact, a T3 Overwatch team that have this as part of their name. We're wasting walls. So if you're wasting those walls, chances are you're not going to make it out of OD. But speaking of making it out, we are out of Oasis and into our payload map for this evening, and it's going to be Rialto.
Phil, seeing. I know it's the attacking spawn. I know it's not going to stick around, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'll wait for a little bit, but if you want comfort picks, well, that is definitely a comfort pick.
Look,
we can look to Platypus, right? And you can see that they're expecting one thing to be coming out of those spawn doors, and as a console player, I'm sure you're going to be familiar with this concept. It's pharmacy. You've got 2 fire counters straight away on that board with Sacco 555. On the Batiste as well, so if you run a Farah into that, it is just straight up death. But it looks like Vulcan are actually gonna be coming out of the Symmetra teleporter.
Well, it kind of makes a lot of sense. It's very easy for Platypus to just fire damage down this choke and get value, but they've actually gone for the Maywall Sim TP strat over the top into the backline. They found 2 kills, and they have just cracked this wide open in hilarious fashion.
Oh, and Platypus, they weren't expecting it. They got completely blindsided by it, bro. None of us were expecting it, let's be honest. They would thought that the pharmacy was going to be dropping on their heads, not the entirety of Vulcan's team.
Well, they have got a little bit of progress out of that, but they weren't quick enough to press the advantage. And now they're going to find themselves in potentially back in a 6v6. Slyok with the double! This is going to push things right the way back. Immortality Field taken out. Mazimi already with the high noon. And that TP may as well not have happened for all the progress that we're going to see coming out from them now. Empire Devil didn't get a lot of ult charge, and now they're back in spawn.
Yeah, this is why you swap off the Symmetra though, Phil. There we go. Yeah. Empire Devil going to be back onto the Mei. Ice, interestingly enough, going onto the Sigma, and the only thing that I can think that is going to be is to put that shield right in front of Slyok's face to make sure that Eternal Assault can actually get his to survive before the team manage to hit that payload.
Of course, Eternal Assault will be coming in with that Earth Shatter. Difficult to get it round Demon's Druid. We know how these matchups go. Oh, there's the shadow. It came out nice and quick from Demon's Druid. Puts 2 on the ground. Slyke able to find Empire Devil. The sleep is going to come through and put Eternal Assault on the ground. But Lord gets the advantage over Slyok. And now it's just going to be a poor, lonely Baptiste, not going to survive without that immortality field. Lord takes him down with the machine gun.
Yeah, so Lord didn't just get the advantage over Slug, Lord got the advantage of a Sigma shield. And is now getting the advantage of a Reinhardt shield as well to boot. Lord coming up absolutely huge and is going to allow Vulcan to slide that pillard right into that point A.
Well, actually, no, do you know what? Less than a minute left to go. They might keep this going. We've got the Amp Matrix. We've got the Nano Boost. Demon's Druid's able to get one on the ball. The wild card finds Mizimi, though. So that's a 1-for-1 trade. Slyok finds Nope, and this may be the pushback here from Platypus.
Yeah, Platypus are just wrestling around that corner, Phil. They know that they've only really got Infrasight to work with, but so too do Vulcan, and so both teams going to be pulling back, but Platypus are going to be the ones coming up big in that one. Hillard going to be starting to roll away from that line.
Code Eclipse is coming up on a Graviton Surge. There will, of course, be the option here for Ice to eat that. He's quick enough with the old Kinetic Grasp. A little bit harder to do than with the Defense Matrix, but this Graviton Surge could be what wins the team fight. Shadow comes out, puts Empire Devil on the ground. Lord's a bit more than make up for that, finding Slyok here, and now we're down into the final minute, and the kills just coming in spectacular fashion. Nice old bounce reset there from Code Eclipse, and with just under a minute on the board, we're going to see Vulcan complete.
Yeah, but Vulcan do know that they're going to be walking into this Graviton Surge next, especially because Nope used that sound barrier in that engagement field. That is an ultimate you are going to be wanting back, I am sure, in a couple of seconds. We're just trying to find that early pick to just force Platypus back, because Vulcan know it's really the only chance that they're going to have to dissuade the full force of that team from chucking gravity straight into their midst.
Well, they've got to be careful, of course. They are going to be coming into a couple of ults in not too long a time. But Slyok secures the opening pick. It's 5v6 time for Platypus, and they start to surge their way forward. Code Eclipse still holding on to the Graviton Surge. Looks like they've got a reasonable amount of charge. Shadow out from Eternal Soul. Only puts Demon's Druid on the ground. There's the Graviton, and out comes the hammer. Swinging its way in. Mizimi with the High Noon's going to find 3. Lord will take Mizimi out of the equation, but for now, it's going to be a hold for Plat.
And Platypus as well, they're going to have such a massive advantage in this next fight, Phil. Yes, they're going to be fighting up against a Blizzard, but they can stop this engagement before it even happens. They've got the full span of that bridge. Slyok is going to have such a lovely sight line onto Lord, and Cycle is going to have that defense matrix to plonk down right in front of the team for when Vulcan try to approach.
There's the Blizzard to open things up. Looks like we're going to see nobody caught in it. Immortality Field's going to come up, taken out by the Coalescence. And Demon's Druid doing a fantastic job of playing around the payload to avoid that. Throws in the Shadow, puts 2 on the ground, swings in the hammer. It's going to help Mizimi pick 1 onto Eternal Salt. Vulcan got a little bit of distance there, but now Platypus can afford to hold and maybe even to push in a little ways to secure a few last-minute kills.
Yeah, and they'll have Kazuo there with her Nano Boost in case the tanks get a little bit too over-aggressive, but no, they're going to just hold around this corner, Phil!
Sly got to get Lord and secure having that those sites online ready for the next fight. Mizimi finds the wild card. Out comes the Shadow. It's only going to find Sackle, but they will capitalize on it and take Sackle out of the fight. Eternal Salt goes down to Code Eclipse, maintaining that high charge all the way through these fights. And look at what Platypus have to play with compared to just the sights and the Gravitic Flux from Vulcan.
Yeah, and if you've got a Baptiste as well, you don't have to worry about Gravitic Flux as long as you know how to manage your immortality field. So you are essentially, if you're Vulcan, trying to come into this next fight, bait out as many ultimates from the side of Platypus as you can, crucially that grab, and then moving into the next fight to actually try to win it. But with 36 seconds left on the clock, looking grim for this team.
Wow, Lord is really getting the upper hand in this Widow duel. It's up to the rest of the team to really capitalize on it. Lord with the second, the wild card's going to take Code Eclipse down, and with 30 seconds on the board, Vulcans look to be in a position here to take this fight. We did see the Nano Boost come out onto Demon's Druid, but there was nobody else there to help him out. A Nano Boosted Ride is a great tool, but you need at least some of the rest of the toolbox.
Oh, crucially, the rest of that toolbox is now there for Vulcan. Nope and Wildcard gonna have 2 sustaining ultimates for the team in case Code Eclipse is able to get back in time, but no, and they've managed to extend that clock even further. Dear Platypus, you need to start putting in a couple of things. You can try to slow this payload down before it gets on the inside. As well, Lord is gonna be looking to open things up pretty quickly.
here's where Platypus start to have a real strong advantage with the respawns where they are. We're going to see Demon Squid caught out in the open. Immortality Field there to keep him up, and the Earth Shadow puts 2 on the ground. Here comes the High Noon from Mazimi, looking for something. Will find Lord and the wild card, 2 from the High Noon. Now, less than a minute on the clock, and Platypus are looking to hold a choke here. This is going to be very difficult for Vulcan to break.
This is the advantage you talked of, Phil. You have just so many places that you can hide around natural cover that is offered to you that is not there for your opponents. But if you're Vulcan, you are rallying around the fact that you have a Blizzard. You just have to pull out that darned Immortality Field from the Batiste. That's the only way, because you know you have that Shadow, yes, a little bit of cleanup, but you need to start getting kills in as soon as Blizzard comes down.
An aggressive sound barrier, and an even more aggressive Shatter in over the top. The Blizzard thrown in as well, but the Immortality Field was there to really help them out. Kazumi's going to get chased. Kazabel's going to get chased out. She will survive through that. Throws in the Nano Boost onto Demon Squid, who throws in the Shatter. Needs to rely on Code Eclipse to start doing some of the damage here, but instead gets focused down by Eternal Assault. We're into overtime, but the payload has rounded the final bend.
They can't move away from it though, Phil. This is where Platypus are going to have an even larger leg up. Their spawns are going to be so much closer, and if anyone on their team approaches an ultimate, Vulcan are not going to be able to disengage off that payload, otherwise that overtime wick is just going to burn straight down.
They don't have any ults to make it happen, but maybe just raw firepower from Lord taking Slag out of the fight might be enough to make this happen. Kazabel closing in on another Nano Boost. Demon's Druid with the short-term charge, gonna get Eternal Assault. Lord takes Mazimi out of the fight. There's another shadow from Demon's Druid, puts 2 on the ground. There are still 2 on the cut. Platypus can't afford to get off here. It's gonna be the May finding Sackle out of the fight, and now the hippity-hoppity Lucio, desperately trying to keep this alive, will get knocked down in the final seconds, and just shy of a full complete there from Vulcan.
But we can see improvements that this team have made. Suddenly, their May play is looking so much better, Phil. It's like it's a completely different team. I've seen walls that have been used to go right up behind that Reinhardt's back to make sure that he's separated from the team. I've seen blizzards being put down at crucial moments, like, for example, when they're all caught up in that grav. The 2 ultimates, I believe, came out both at the same time, but it was beautiful play because it meant that there just wasn't the cleanup that the team were able to get onto Vulcan because they were all just trying to avoid being frozen where they stood.
I did think, though, Vulcan had to work really hard to get the points they did work, and once we hit the point where the spawn advantages were really heavily in Platypus's favor, particularly on that last point, is where we really saw them grind to a halt. So I don't know how well this this defensive round with Vulcan's going to go.
Well, I do know we're going to be in for such an amazing treat because it looks like it's shaping up to be another sniper battle. Ooh. Lord and Slark have been at each other's throats the entirety of that last round. I saw Lord just grappling past the team fight that was going on behind his back to try to find Slyhawk's head, managed to take it, gets that opening pick, swings things immediately in the favor, but now we're seeing this pharmacy. Not on the attack, but on the defending side, and so if you're Empire Devil, well, you need to be very careful, because there are 2 DPS who are both pretty well equipped for taking you out. Lord is going to have to be pulling so much of their weight, because if you don't pull your enemy's fire, Empire Devil is going to be getting the brunt of that damage.
I think if we see one pick coming onto Empire Devil that can't get raised by no, we will see them swap off to something a little more defensive. Repositioning onto the high ground there for Code Eclipse. Lord's going to find Slyhawk, the first opener here. That puts man advantage over for Vulcan. So far, the payload not being halted particularly as we round the first corner, but Lord able to get the second pick. And if they can just keep slowing down Platypus like this, they're going to be in a really good position to take this. Lord just finding headshot after headshot after headshot, really controlling space for Vulcan.
Especially because that Sigma shield from Ice is right in front of that Widowmaker, so it's a completely unfair battle on the side of Slyhawk, who has to try to get through that one. Lord gets all the time in the world to set the shot up, doesn't need to worry about any damage coming onto him, whereas Slyhawk has to peep around all of these off angles.
Oh. This is some really weird positioning from Platypus. They keep leaving their supports in the DPS to just get picked by Lord time and time again. They just huddle up under that Rhine shield and close the distance. Oh, Lord is going to keep doing this. They already have the sights on board, and Empire Devil has done enough damage to only be 1/5 away from having a barrage.
Yeah, you have a really lovely crossfire coming from Vulcan. All of the focus is on Lord, so Empire Devil is just able to just get those really nice angles and lob damage in. You can see Slyok actually going to be going a different route. In fact, the entire team of Platypus going to be going a different route. They listen to you, Phil. It's going to be route A instead of B. Let's see whether or not they manage to see anything else.
Did think we might have got a concussive blast there to get the reposition kill. Shadow comes out. They've got to be careful because in comes Empire Devil. Well, that's unfortunate. The barrage came out, got one of the D-Mech, but Empire Devil themselves taken out by that ultimate. Doesn't seem to matter too much because Platypus are the ones with the man disadvantage. It's just Demon's Druid and Slag desperately trying to keep this going forward. Charge from Eternal Assault, doesn't find anything. There's the Shatter. It goes wide. It can't find anybody. And now Demon's Druid, even with all this resource being pumped into him, is struggling to find value around the payload into the face of the enemy Reinhardt.
And Lord again finds Slyog's head. Lord has just been going absolute ham. Cyclone's actually going to swap onto the Moira. They know they've got 1 minute 33 seconds left. Try to build up coalescence. Slyog swaps onto the Genji. It's missed defeat in the Widow battle and is just going to annoy Lord's front line instead.
This is looking really, really bad from Platypus here. I like that we've got some adaptations, but really, I want to see Code Eclipse actually do something about Lord. They're playing the Diva. You should be just right up in Lord's face the entire time.
Either Lord or Empire Devil. Use those 3-second boosters to get right into that Pharaoh's space, but Lord is just playing so far from the back and so protected by the team they can't launch an assault.
And look, we've seen it again. Kazabel caught out. Concussive Blast is going to find Code Eclipse. The Nano Boost comes out. The Shatter comes out. But with those two thrown in, nothing happens. We're going to have maybe one long drawn-out fight on the back here, and it's going to be down to the High Noon, the Shatter, and the Self-Destruct finding anything here for this to happen for Platypus.
Well, they can try to make something happen with this build if they play the angles. So you have Coded Eclipse go in one way, Mazumi go on the other side, and force Eternal Assault to decide which direction that shield is going in. But again, you're going to have to do it when Immortality Field has been drawn out, and you can see Demon's Druid actually sneaking around the back trying to get that Shadow.
Oh, look at that! Nope! Caught up position, the res no longer on the board. It's not going to be that safe for Empire Devil to really make this happen. And now it looks like we're going to see Code Eclipse finally putting some pressure onto Empire Devil. There's the High Noon from Mazumi. Going to find two. Slyok with the dash reset to find Wildcard. And it's taken them to OT, but it looks like Platypus might be able to get this into point V.
They're going to have the Shadow for when Vulcan try to get this contest going, but if Vulcan want to, they can absolutely try this contest build because they're the ones who have so many ultimates to the name.
Well, look out for Empire Devil coming around the top. Going to see them going over the building, looking to land that barrage around the back. It finds both supports. Empire Devil goes down, but the work has been done. The teeth close in, the throat's about to swallow what's left of Platypus, and we're going to see Vulcan look to put on the full hold here.
Vulcan coming up so much huge in Rialto. Really a different team that we got to see. And I think really, Phil, what sums up that map is the fact that Demon's Druid doesn't go around the back of the team to set up a surprise Shatter, climbs the stairs, and jumps on Lord. And just Ryan hammers the Widow as she tries to run away.
Well, it's a bold strategy if you can make it work. It's a nice grab there from Code Eclipse, but we are now, Moxie, all tied up at 1 apiece. We're, of course, playing first to 3 here, so we've got at least 2 more maps coming your way. And we were talking at the end of the first map about, Vulcan, they really need to step things up to get on the same level of Platypus, and they have done that and more to put on a full hold on Platypus there, not even getting point A. What about it? What's changed? What was the big determining factor in that one?
Positioning. You saw it, how so many techniques and tools were put into making sure that what they put onto the table was pulled off beautifully. Whether it was the amount of defense that was available for Lord, whether it was Empire Devil somehow being able to stay up in the air against both a McCree and a Widowmaker. The supports were beautifully done in making sure that they survived. You actually see the Mercy from the side of Vulcan. the Pharah goes down. She thinks about getting the res, almost actually does, but then someone from the team just pokes their head out from around one of the corners so that she's able to just glide away elegantly on what I believe was about 50 HP back to the team to keep all of those two supports up and still in the fight. The positioning and play that Vulcan put on Rialto, using the high ground, making sure that they were always checking the angle so that they knew when Platypus tried to come around that other side, was wonderfully done, and one of the probably the most effective almost spawn holds on Rialto that I have seen for the longest of times, no matter what SR rank.
So just given that we're talking about positioning there, now you know from experience that I'm not an analyst and you can't ask me questions about the game. But I did think Platypus looked to be struggling, and I mentioned it in game. We often saw Kazabel and Sackle both caught without a Rhine shield to hide behind. So as well as good positioning out of Vulcan, we're seeing some really sloppy positioning out from Platypus, and they've got to fix that if they want to go the distance as we move into our third map. We're going to be going to Assault next, and that's going to be Hanamura.
Yeah, so Platypus will be happy to know that they don't need to worry about bringing paddling float spell. Phil, there is not really many places where you can get an environmental kill off on Hanamura, unless you go for that symmetric teleport round the side and get booped off by a charging Reinhardt.
Well, happens to the best of us, Moxie.
I mean, it's never happened to me, but I would not say I'm the best of us. Being Plat, I would say I'm probably one of the worst parts of Overwatch competitive. But headed off to Hanamura, I know what I love to see on that on this map, and that is Symmetra cheese. But Phil, if you can have any dabble of a composition coming out from either side, not just going off what's meta, what would be tickling your fancy on this menu today?
Are we saying if I could have any composition or any composition?
Any composition, like imagine I took you to a candy shop and just let you loose and said, do you want the humbugs or do you want the candy canes? You can have anything you choose.
Who picks humbugs in that situation? Well, look,
who picks humbugs?
Look, they're a shorthand for a bad thing. Why would you want them? Anyway, to go back to slightly more Overwatchy topics of conversation, if I was to pick like the ideal composition, and let's talk about Platypus because I think they were the team that looked a little sloppiest here, then honestly I'd actually go for something a little bit like they've got here. Lord and Empire Devil are going to be very hard to pin down. They put in a lot of damage on this composition. I think I'd actually like to see maybe even a Orisa Roadhog composition, because at this rank the togetherness, the synergy of the Halt Hook combo to secure picks is very, very powerful, and it's such a simple thing to pull off, especially on the defense.
It's looking as if Vulcan are actually just going to stick with what was not really going to go for that Mei on the defense, which I think is probably the first time on Hanamura I've seen the longest of times that's not going to be that. So Platypus with Slyok picking up the slack on that Mei. Do you have a chance to be able to get through this choke, Phil, without finding much aggression from the defenders?
Well, they've already managed to close the distance. Mei was going to come out from Slyok, and this is already falling apart here for Vulcan. Mazimi's going to get the first kill, but Empire Devil strikes back and gets Casbo, but it's Mazimi back on the McCree that's really starting to do the work for Platypus. He's taken a lot of damage, will need to spend a bit of time in that Lucio circle of goodness. Eternal Soul goes down. This is already looking great for Platypus. They've got nearly two ticks on the board. They did that in one very quick team fight. Ice and Empire Devil are still up, but they just can't make anything work. And now Ice is in a very real danger of getting staggered out here.
Well, Lord is definitely staggered out, has to go over the edge and reset with Coded Eclipse, but actually the Reinhardt goes down too. So Platypus not going to be able to go for that second push just yet, Phil, which is the saving grace for Vulcan, who are desperately trying to build any sort of ultimate that's going to stop these attackers in their tracks, but they're going to have to worry about this Lucio. Sako has somehow built up one of the slowest building ultimates in under a minute. Sound barrier already online for Platypus.
Well, Sandberry is not going to do too much through the barrage, though. You've got to watch for sneaky angles here from Lord, particularly with that damage boost on board from Nope. This could stop this team fight right here, right now. Lord gets an opening pick, doesn't even need the barrage. That's going to be all the Vulcan need, but they go in too hard, and Eternal Assault gets taken down. Ice with the high charge and the Mercy Pocket able to get the Equalizer with Demon's Druid down now as well. Vulcan look like they have got the hold here for now, and suddenly things are slowing down for Platypus, and this is going to be a lot harder to take.
Yeah, well, this next fight, Phil, is going to be the absolute opposite of slow. You can already see Lord trying to just peep in at that window set up for that barrage. Going to be trying to drop it in. Going to have to be very aware that with Coded Eclipse on the Diva, defense mages can just spoil that for his day, especially Demon's Druid Shield. It's going to be eyes on the Reinhardts. Both of these guys have shadows.
Grab it on through the window. The dragon comes out, gets Sackle. Eternal Soul finds the D-Mech. Empire Devil gets the kill on to the pilot form of the Diva. 2 ults and quite the turn for the buckets for Platypus.
But Platypus are just draining ultimates currently from Vulcan, because Sackle keeps a hold of that sound barrier. So yes, you lost that team fight, but you lost it quickly, and you pulled out 2 pretty big ultimates that would have stopped your next push, Grab and Dragon. You don't have to worry about those. You're going to have a Blizzard on your own. You're just going to go straight for that main hole. You can see it already. They're setting up, trying to just speed boost onto point and set up in a corner and force Vulcan to come to them.
But that's quite the welcome. Eternal Assault's going to find one with a Shatter, but almost of that barrage went into the Defense Matrix. The Shatter, the Icicle, the Self-Destruct from Coded Eclipse is going to find 3. Empire Devil shoots back, gets a second. The rest comes through onto Lord, and it was looking great for Platypus, but Vulcan had the tools to completely rebuff them. Nope coming back with the aggressive Mercy kill onto Demon's Druid.
And Platypus, they put in so much, they thought that that was their push to have, but they put it in all at once, Phil. It was sort of a vomit of ultimates. And they could have been able to really drain out that fight, but because they put in so much all at the same time, Vulcan don't need to worry about anything else. Slack is actually going to go onto the hand zone now. Going to go for a little bit of a poke battle on the side of Empire Devil's head, trying to build up a dragon as quickly as he can. Not going to try to be building up a Blizzard anytime soon.
Well, Mazimi's going to be the only one with an ult to play with, the High Noon on the board, but with that low ground position, it's going to be really tough to make anything happen with that unless you can get right into the back corner. They're going for the rotation. The tanks have made their way onto the point. Slyark goes down. Mazimi will get Empire Devil, but they lost too many too quickly. Vulcan are going to continue their hold. Platypus are still going to have 2.5 minutes left to go. They can afford a few fights like that.
But they can't afford to lose people before the fight properly begins, and that is, I believe, the 2nd or 3rd time that Slag has just been picked out of that fight before it's properly begun. And it means that Platypus are going in 5 versus 6. They don't need to worry about having ultimates online. They're just going to be wiped away by sheer number advantage, Phil. So Vulcan looking pretty strong, looking even stronger. They're creeping back up to the wombo combo that shut Platypus down. This Grav Dragon.
But this is what we were saying about them in the last game, and it's happened again. Platypus are not coming in as a cohesive unit. Every time they come in, somebody is getting picked, and it means that there is a big problem with the positioning around their tanks.
Especially look at where they are at the moment. They're all waiting. They're trying to group up, but you can see a couple of them are on the staircase. A couple of them are headed towards main. It's a very strange rotation from this team, but they are just going to head straight to that point, trying to set up on it. Gonna have to worry about that Grav Dragon is online now.
There's the High Noon from Mazimi, and it takes Lord out of the fight, but Mazimi themselves taken out. Grab it on Surge, Dragon, Coalescence, all on the field. Vulcan threw a lot at that one, but it has seen them take this next attack to under 1 minute. This has been a 5-minute hold for Platypus.
Honestly, with Platypus, I would have swapped off to a Batiste. I wouldn't have, because you know that the thing that Vulcan are going to be trying to win fights like with is like Grav Dragon. If you've got an immortality field, at least you've got a little bit of leeway to try and survive it. But no, they're going to be sticking with this Ana and this Lucio. Caswell is going to have a nano, but it is the only thing this team are going to have to try to open things up. Slack is approaching that dragon, but it's just not going to be enough in the face of Lord's Blizzard.
It's going to be down here to Code Eclipse getting the onto this Blizzard from Lord. It's not going to happen. The D-Mech came through. Nano Boost gets put in over onto Demon's Druid, but Ice has already secured the kill, and the D-Mech onto Coda Clips. Here's a Dragon coming out from Slayer. Demon's Druid gets Lord, and suddenly there is a numbers advantage for Platypus with 30 seconds on the table. Sackle's able to get Empire Devil, but the respawns are going to be thick and fast, and Vulcan don't need to do much. Platypus have got to come out with big ultimates to win this. The Shadow will hit Eternal Soul, but with the overshield from the sound barrier, it's difficult to make anything happen. Ice and Lord get two in quick succession, and now Platypus a long way from a numbers advantage. Self-destruct going to need to find something. Instead, it's just going to give a whole heap of power over to Ice. Dragon coming in from the far corner, forces the reposition. There's the Shadow. The overtime wiki's ticking down. The Baby Diva grabbed off the point. 42.3% cap for Platypus in that last fight. And now Vulcan have a very definite win condition on the table.
I don't know about you, Phil, but looking at that last-minute fight, it seemed messy. It seemed scrappy. Platypus were just dashing all over the place, seeing and trying to shoot anything that moved. I saw a Trace trying to chunk down a Reinhardt, while the Reinhardt tried to chunk down a Zarya. It was very strange, bizarre, because when you go for those moments, especially when you know that you're up against that defender spawn being so much closer than your own, you have to have perfect communication. Everyone on your team has to be on the same page, going after the same target. You go from one person to another person. It is a stepping stone of corpses. But Platypus, they throw that out the window and they just go for whatever moves. And because of that, they aren't able to really get the kills going. They aren't able to find any staying power on that point. And that is the reason why they only managed to pick up 42.3% of it.
But still, we know from experience that that second point is very difficult to break. The fact that Platypus had such a strong showing on the opening point and then struggled on the second is probably going to play the same sort of dynamic for Vulcan this time round.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting that you mentioned the same, because I'm looking at Vulcan and I know they're attacking, but the last time they teased this on Rialto, they actually came out with it, and this is a strategy that you can run. Looks like they're going to have Lord in the mix on the Mei, so they want to go for that Symmetra teleporter. Mei will up onto the window, Symmetra teleport, then onto the high ground of the point, and then go for a drop down. But Platypus might be able to spot that out. Gonna be there with that early fire strike. Doesn't manage to see this in.
Interestingly, we've got Ice sticking on the Wrecking Ball here. Simter, oh, of course, they're just going to go in and set up the spin cycle. Instead, we are going to see Ice boop the way out. Empire Devil will get Slyok. Immortality Field goes down, and Vulcan already able to cap 1 point here. The freeze comes through. Empire Devil goes down, but Vulcan may have just done enough here to start to grind this out. The spin cycle is going, but Wildcard finds Coda Clipped, and now it's just the Reinhardt left alone on the point. Demon's Druid doing a... Did they not realize he was there still? They just abandoned him. A big charge comes in from Eternal Soul to take him out. And that was going to be just as quick a cap as we saw for Platypus.
And they're going to have Empire Devil still on the sim, I hope, to try to get that Symmetra teleporter on the side.
There's nothing worse than a Junkrat walking up to you and just stuffing that concussive mine down your throat and getting the kill. He's going to have that Ripfire.
Yeah, he is going to have a Riptire, but Vulcan are still going to have the Symmetra teleporter, and you can see that thinking about going for that side angle. Platypus don't actually have anyone monitoring the sides!
It's a classic. Oh, and Ice is able to destroy the tire and then destroy the tire's Utah. Closing in on having the minefield here as well, but Coda Clips are going to take Eternal Soul out of the equation. Mazimi on the Zippity's offering Trace, and now manages to find Empire Devil and take them out of the fight. Numbers advantage here for Platypus.
Vulcan, though, they will be coming in. They're still around this, though. They can still try to go out. No, they just lost to Lucio. You need to keep your ultimates. You need to get out of dodge as quickly as you possibly can.
Lord is doing such a good job of making an absolute nuisance of themselves. So much resource went there to taking Lord out of the fight, and it took everything that the tanks had to get rid of him.
Well, they're sticking with Empire Devil on the Symmetra, but I don't think they're going to be going for that side approach that they went for. They could very easily just try to get that teleporter onto the top of the point and try to go for a little bit of a drop down that way, especially being close to that Symmetra wall. Going to be perfect to call in on when Cycle puts that amplification matrix down.
It's kind of a high-tech bums rush here. You just get right up amongst them and start to do the damage. Instead, they're not even going to bother with that. Nano Boost for Nano Boost. Self-destruct on the field. Code Eclipse is going to get one. The wall comes out here as well for Empire Devil, but it's too little, too late. Couldn't do anything to stop the spread of the disaster from the self-destruct, and Platypus are going to keep their hold for now.
Question is Empire Devil going to stay on the Symmetra, or are they going to be coming out with something else? Because the Symmetra can... There we go. Oh, and Ice is going to use the mines as well, so going to be seeing a swap to the Zarya, trying to build up to that Graviton. 4 minutes, 3 seconds in the clock. You can absolutely try to set that one up, but, well, you want to talk about setup. Platypus are going to be trying to build towards the Nano Blade, Slayak on the Genji. Caswell trying to build up that Nano to give that blade a little bit of extra oomph.
Gonna be straight through main here. Blizzard thrown out early from Lord. Shadow comes out from Demon's Druid as well. Immortality Field will keep him alive that a little bit longer. And now, Vulcan looking like they're in charge of the point. Anti-nade comes through, hits a couple. Might not stop the D-Mech coming through. The freeze comes through onto Code Eclipse. They get taken out. Nano boost onto Mizumi on the Tracer. Gonna help them get that ultimate that even faster. Has to duck out for now. Buys a little bit of time for Demon's Root to come back in and take the wild card out of contention. Ice has a lot of charge, gradually building towards that Graviton Surge, and looks like Vulcan know when they're beat. We're going to see most of them back out here. Nope, sadly, the last to die.
I have just seen the most beautiful crossfire coming out from Platypus's supports. I don't know about you, Phil, but if you could just see the dodgeballs coming from the side of the left and Kezabel's needles coming from the side of the right, both of those supports were just on the differing sides of the high ground, lobbing in sustainability for anyone who was able to touch that point from Platypus. And so they've built up an amplification matrix, they've built up a blade, unfortunately they haven't built up a nano though.
Here's the blade, out it comes, looking for value, gonna find one at least, the wild card goes down. A lot of damage in over the top, Demon's Druid able to capitalize, takes 2 off the board, and that's gonna be back to spawn, and maybe have a bit more of a think about this one.
Okay, so if you're Vulcan, you need to find some way of collapsing in on the supports of Platypus, because again, they're just on the left and right ledges and no one is bothering them. So all of the focus is on just that point. And Vulcan, on the other hand, well, their supports are just getting immediately chipped away by the forces of Platypus. So you do have a Deadeye, you have a Mei as well. I would really like to see them just try to put that one in, either to bait out Immortality Field from Sako, or to try to take Kazubel out of the picture. You can actually see the Ana around that corner, making sure that they're right next to the Reinhardt in case Deadeye comes through with their head.
Well, they're going to be going up the stairs. Early Maywall coming out from Lord. And it's going to be a big fatal grenade that finds the wild card. And this is... you really don't want to see Vulcan throw too much more at this. Let's learn when these fights are done and back out.
Well, they are going to do just that, Phil. They're going to try, at least. It's Zarya on the run with a Mei, but they do manage to back it out just a little bit more. There we go, to safety.
Back into the loving arms of the Wildcat.
Back into the loving arms of the support Moira, and, well, feels a little bit strange saying that, but in these team compositions, Moiras do actually remember that they have both right-click and left-click, Phil, and they also have a Coalescence to combine with a Graviton. You don't need to worry about shielding, you can just cut straight.
Well, no combating that. An aggressive sound barrier. Shadow comes out, puts 3 on the ground. The Graviton comes out as well, but there's no follow-up damage. The Immortality Field kept them alive through that, and they're able to just keep themselves up through that. But Vulcan have now 2 kills on the board. Slayer looking for something with this Dragon Blade. Only going to find the swinging hammer of the German in the armor. Eternal Assault takes Code Eclipse out of the fight. And now this is looking really good for Vulcan. They've got only a fraction of a few couple of percentage left to go in this. Masami is going to take Nope out with the Pulse Bomb. Ice takes Kazabel, but there are a lot of very bouncy targets on the point. Difficult to take them out. Oh, very nearly didn't get the tag in time from Code Eclipse. Here's the High Noon in the back from Empire Devil. The D-Mech comes through, and they managed to complete 42.4% of the cap. Vulcan taking us to match point, 2-1 in the series.
Oof, Vulcan. They knew what they had to do, Phil. They just had to come in with so many things that poor Platypus just weren't able to stand up to the heat. And again, another handsome play of the game.
Well, you know, it's easy to get play of the games with the Dragon. And really, look, I'm a guy that plays a lot of Zarya. We all know this was the Zarya's play of the game.
Absolutely.
For that Graviton Surge, and Empire Devil just nicked it.
I mean, that's what TPS do when there's a Zarya involved, right, Phil? If it's if there's a Grav, if it's a Deadeye, if it's a Diva Bomb, just the Zarya never gets recognition.
No, poor Zarya.
Off tanks are the most thankless job in Overwatch because at least
but don't
people
worry,
understand when a Rein saves them from a shadow. Everyone's like, "Oh, there was a Zarya bubble on me. I didn't notice."
no, it had to be the Rhine Shield. That's okay. Look, we're trying to get rid of off tanks. It's not going to be a problem that much longer. Then everybody can enjoy playing.
Except perhaps the supports. We're going to have to worry about free DPS hunting them down every step of the way. But we're not looking at experimental cards currently, Phil. Such a shame it would be. But we are going to be going, as you pointed out, to match point. Vulcan and Platypus, 2-1. Gonna be a nail biter of a finish, I feel, as we head off to what I believe is a hybrid map.
It is. How's your 5-mapper sense doing today? I know you're always keen for that.
Oh, it's just pinging slightly.
Okay.
Boop. Bing.
I think
I don't know.
First map on Control looked an awful lot closer, but I do think Vulcan have really started to edge out Platypus now. Platypus just seem to not quite have a grip on their own positioning and their rotations, and Vulcan are just punishing them for it every time.
I mean, Platypus has positioning down when it comes to supports. When it comes to staying alive before a fight begins. When it comes to during an actual fight, if they aren't in the position that they want to be, they fall a little bit apart. I think they kind of they whisk themselves up into a tizzy. Is probably the best way that I can think to explain it, where you go on point and you think, okay, I'm probably not supposed to be standing there, and there's a big X marks the spot on one side of the map that you know you should be standing on, but they've just started coming onto the point and they look oh so hammerable, and you're a Reinhardt and you've got a charge button and there's a little voice in your head that's just whispering, go! There's 6 people! You'll probably pick one up. It will be value. And it seems like Vulcan
press
really
W, you coward approach.
It seems like Vulcan, as you rightfully say, do really know how to just punish Platypus's over-aggression sometimes.
Well, we'll be able to see whether they can keep that trend going as we move over into what could be our final map for the evening, going into Hybrid. And, well, I doubt anybody's surprised. We're going to be going to King's Row.
Everybody's favorite map, and the good old Brit's old stomping grounds, Phil. I always feel a little bit nostalgic whenever we log into this one because, as a fellow Brit, I'm sure you can attest, the sky really is that dark 99% of the time. It's just missing
Well, I grew
a
up
little
in
bit
the
of
countryside, so yeah.
a little bit of fog, a little bit more light pollution, and a whole lot more rain.
Indeed. Yeah, I would love to see a rainy variant of it just for authenticity. Get some dynamic weather on this.
Well, I mean, can you imagine if they just get that storm going as well? So you've got the occasional lightning power outages where everyone's ultimates just stop working sometimes. If you're a Zenyatta or a Genji, your entire body just malfunctions. But I don't think we're going to be seeing the Genji or the Zenyatta at the moment. Not exactly one of the maps most well known for dive.
No. In fact, what we typically see is kind of what we've got locked in, certainly for the defense and probably for the offense here as well. This is, the OG Rhine Zarya map. It's the map that kind of gave birth to the whole GOATS phenomena just because of how strong those two are here.
Yeah, there are so many places as well where you really can just hold the map advantage over the attacking team. Likewise, though, the attacking team does manage to get a couple of tourist spots where they can hold one over you, Streets Phase being one, but to get that point A unlocked, to get that payload rolling, you first have to make it through the absolute gauntlet that is that first choke. And the way Platypus is set up, they don't have a Mei, but it definitely makes me think that Vulcan are pushing their luck to get through!
into the back! They didn't see it coming! They got the absolute drop on them! The wall comes up, separates Demon's Druid, and now Demon's Druid in a lot of trouble, but the Immortality Field will come up to keep them alive. But Vulcan have one tick for nothing, and Platypus are just backpedaling at a rate of knots.
The damage is done, Phil. They might just be able to pick up the entirety of point A because Vulcan Platypus were not expecting the Symmetra teleporter, and I have to ask why not. We have seen on Rialto, on Hanamura, that this team love their Symmetra stats when it comes to unlocking point A. You need at that point to be not only expecting it, but prepared for it, and it's just sadly gonna be Vulcan managing just off that one ability to just move ahead, completely deny Platypus the chance to hold at that first and second choke. Just moving that payload pretty much all the way through Streets Phase, unless Platypus try to get past that first corner that they're holding in now.
And Moxie, look what it's done to the ult charge here. Empire Devil and Lord and Ice getting incredibly close to having these ultimates online. It's going to be the wild card gets the opener. Out comes the Coalescence, and it's going to focus down Mizimi. It's going to take out the Immortality. The Dragon gets thrown in by Slyok, but it doesn't find anything. They split, they part like the Red Sea, and they avoid the incoming damage. Demon's Druid has the nano boost, but the Maywall comes up, allowing Vulcan to get back, and they retreat to the safety of the payload. Demon's Druid will have a shatter here. Thrown in! It could be huge! It puts 4 on the ground! The Graviton Surge will come out. Cody Clip's able to get 1 there, but it looks for now like Vulcan couldn't really capitalize on that. Out comes the May wall, the May ultimate even. Vulcan continuing to press forward. Platypus threw a lot at that fight, and they got absolutely buff kiss for it.
Oh, that shadow was wonderful, but so too was the play that came immediately after. Yes, you weren't able to capitalize on Grav, but you're still alive though. You're still alive, you're still able to be breathing, you're still able to put a blizzard in, you're still able to pick up point B, and now you're still able to stagger out the forces of Platypus. Eternal Assault is back with the team as well. He's gonna have a shatter, and we know Demon's Druid just threw his in. Doesn't need to worry about that counterplay, it's just gonna be that normal Rhinemine game, making sure you can block it as the hammer comes down.
Have we even seen any kills on the board for Platypus? I feel like Vulcan just have steamrolled this without taking any damage. Big anti-will come through onto Kazabel, but with nobody there to follow up, might as well not have happened. Another Coalescence to the wild card. Shadow comes out. Demon's Druid will find Nope, and he did have the sound barrier online. Mizmi finding Ice is a good start. The Dragon into the grab is where we see Platypus finally put a halt on the progress of this payload. But now there are 5 minutes in the time bank for Vulcan to make something happen.
Yeah, but we mentioned earlier that there are points which swing in the favor of both attackers and defenders. Point C is very firmly defenders' territory, Phil. So if you have 4 minutes, 30 seconds to hold on any point of King's Row, I will always choose this one place. You're going to see Platypus, they've got the nano, they've got that amplification matrix, they can bait Vulcan into their arms. They just have to be very careful not to use Immortality Field too early, whereas Ice's Graviton is going to hurt.
Well, there's the Graviton Surge, it's going to lock up Demon's Druid, and comes a sound barrier from Nope as well. Not sure what that was in response to. Anti's gonna land. Eternal Salt needs some healing, needs that purple to drop. It finally does. But Sakul is able to find Nope here. Mazami with the flashbang gets Eternal. And that's going to be another hold here for Platypus. So that momentum that Vulcan had, sadly, converted now just into mass. No speed attached at all.
Well, they will have that speed boost, and they will also have a blizzard, Phil. So Platypus are going to have to be playing separated. They cannot be just clumping around, grouping up, because they will just be fodder for that one ultimate. They are going to have to initiate as well. Sakul has that amplification matrix. Can't actually see where he's standing currently. Looks like it's on the high ground, making sure he doesn't get caught out by the freeze, so he can put an Immortality Field in to save whoever does.
Notice Empire Devil swapping off the Symmetra there. The wild card opens things up with the Coalescence. Blizzard comes out, buys a lot of space, freezes up a couple. Slyok goes down, but Demon's Druid and Kazalo fire right the way back in. Mazami will complete on the high noon, but it doesn't find any targets. And now we're going to see Vulcan back with that momentum. Got a duck out of the way. The Dragon from Spawn will almost get Sakul. It definitely got the wild card. Slyok on the point. He's a big threat, but he's a small HP pool. Demon's Druid with a random charge from the distance is going to find Nope, and they've brought that back again.
So Demon's Druid charges out, manages to pin the Lucio, then turns around, doesn't shatter the Zarya, who's the one closest to the payload, but shatters Eternal Assault, so he isn't able to come to the off-tank's aid, and that is Vulcan cut off. Not able to try to approach any closer. They do have Grav, though, Phil. This could be, if you're Sakul and you use the Immortality Field earlier, quite a punch for your team. Eternal Assault's going to be looking to pull that one out, I'm sure. Put the Shatter in first, then use the higher value Graviton to try and get kills going.
Oh, there's the Shatter, but it lands right in the sheet. The Sleet comes through onto Eternal Salt. Both Gravitons thrown in here. It's gonna be Platypus with the kills on the board. Demon's Druid is the tip of the spear once more. Gets the double Slyok with a follow-up. Charge into the back line. Oh, they got off it! They got off it! Oh my god! Nope with the hero play. They were so busy stopping the feed coming in that Nope was just able to swoop in and compete. Platypus have to be absolutely kicking themselves.
Oh, that pesky Lucio. Oh, that is... Not only is that you kicking yourself, but that is your mentality, Phil, in absolute shreds. You were doing so well. You'd held for 2 minutes. You were halfway there.
Oh,
And
that's gonna
then
be so
it all
demoralizing.
fell. I mean, Nope, you can tell, is just laughing so
yeah.
hard right now.
Oh, you can almost hear that. You can almost hear the calls that were happening there. You sometimes see it on like plays of
Reddit.
the week, what have you, and Reddit and stuff. You hear people going feed.
Just keep dying. Just keep dying. They can't see anything. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine.
Usually it's a Sombra.
It is. It's either usually a Sombra, but it is sometimes the Winston, the Diva, or the Lucio as well.
Somebody that can move.
Yeah, anyone that has mobility. I think the weirdest thing I've ever seen is a Reinhardt managed to pull it off somehow,
Wow.
some way, being probably one of the loudest and biggest heroes.
I want to see the
in the
Orisa back
game.
cap. Get some evil toast to back cap action going.
Well, Masumi is going to be on that Widowmaker, just peeping in that ledge. I'm sure it's just to get an early pick off, but Vulcan are going to be denying that entirely. Not going to be poking their heads out for the Widowmaker to try to take them off. Lovely positioning. Gonna make sure that if there is anything like a Symmetra strat teleporter in their future, Eternal Assault's just going to be waiting to charge them right into that statue.
I almost expecting Eternal Assault just to be stood on the side, focused on the middle of the point. Now, Azumi is going to swap off, deciding they can't get any value from the Widow. Going to be that annoying Nat in the back line, playing the Tracer. Hometown, why not? Let her get close to the pubs. Still slow rotation coming out from Platypus, maybe waiting for some cooldowns to come back in. Waiting for Sackle to close the distance, maybe. Finally starting to close it, but as soon as they start the rotation, Slyok gets picked by Lord, and they just have to back out again.
Again, it's this problem, Phil. We've pointed out on Hanamura most of all. Just one of the team getting picked early just allows the floodgates to open.
Vulcan now looking to get whatever ult charge they can. They've got to be careful. I think we had somebody looking to try and start a back cap there. I think they were chased off. Look at the high charge here on a big strike from Demon's Druid. He's going to find the wild card, and now with a huge amount of the healing off the board for Vulcan, this is where things start to get incredibly dicey. Slyke's going to take Lord out of the equation now as well, getting revenge for that last exchange, and this should be where we see Platypus take this.
Yeah, and they're going to be moving up, trying to secure all of that payload as much as they possibly can as soon as that point starts ticking towards the third. Vulcan, though, do have a couple of stopping ultimates in their arsenal, Phil. Particularly, they don't need to worry about ice building up this graviton if Lord's able to land a huge blizzard, because Empire Devil can just send that dragon arcing on through that cold.
But look at the time banks considering what happened the last time. This is a 5-minute time bank on point A. It was maybe a minute more. Oh, well, enough of that analysis. Big shatter coming out from Vulcan. 3 on the ground and a huge volume of cleanup. They're in a position now to hold at the choke, one of the toughest chokes to get past in the entirety of the game.
And they can cycle ultimates, Phil. They've got a graviton, they've got a blizzard. They can choose which one they want to put in to win out this next fight. And then they can use the next one in the next engagement. And poor Platypus, they can't even touch the payload at the moment.
Well, look, they can go for one of these cheeky rotations up on the high ground. Mazimi's about to come in on the pulse bomb. You know, that's stuck in the right place to secure a pick, and you can already see them just sneaking off around to the side.
Yeah,
They'll be trying to get something. Slyok gets walled out. The payload starts to move forward. They will eventually get the gap in, but no value from that. Graviton Surge comes out. Dragon over the top. The pulse bomb from Mazimi gets the pick they were looking for onto Nope. But it just happens at the wrong time because Empire Devil is able to find Demon's Druid, and without that main tank presence, it gets even harder to contest this choke.
And now Vulcan, they have this blizzard. They know that Sakura is going to have the immortality field up, but they've got one thing that can pull it out. Coalescence. If Wildcard is able to surge ahead with the team and have that backup, then you can force Vulcan to try to Platypus to put that one in, and then you can put Blizzard in. You just have to respect the fact that Coded Eclipse has that grab.
There's the Shadow. I think that interrupted Lord's Blizzard. So that completely stuck them that ultimate. A great exchange, but they lose Kazabel very early on. The immortality field gets taken down by the coalescence from the wild card. The payload is starting to move, and Slag is going to find ice here. Eternal Soul goes down. Platypus finally in control of this payload. No ults to speak of on the board for Vulcan. The Shatter comes in, puts 2 down. We'll get the kill onto Empire Devil, and finally that payload moves away from the choke and starts reaching the halfway point on streets.
I don't know about you, Phil, but that shadow from Demon's Raid felt just a little bit of an overkill. You'd already secured the fight, you'd already taken the main tank away, and now Eternal Soul is going to have that chance to put the hammer into your shield without having to worry about his own back.
Great aggressive position from Platypus already, though. They want to secure as much uncontested payload progress as possible. Shadow comes out, 2 down. Slide and Code Eclipse forced out, and Demon's Druid goes down. Down goes the Immortality Field, and suddenly it's going to be a lot harder to keep yourselves alive if you're Platypus, because Vulcan just bounced right the way back. They hit that trampoline in spawn and came all the way back to get the contest going. Now there are only 2 minutes on the board for Platypus. Luckily, they have the ult advantage now.
Yes, but Vulcan are going to have something that can immediately shut this next fight down, Phil. They're going to have this dragon, they're going to have this graviton. This is the win condition. These are the 2 ultimates this team is just building towards every single step of the way because they know it can shut it down. Platypus are not running the loser, they don't have Asnieta, they don't have that Sign Barrier or Transcendence, they just have Immortality Field, and after the changes have been coming through, that is so fragile, it's very easy to chip away at, especially if it's just right there in a grab. You need to place it perfectly around that corner if you're Platypus.
There's the High Noon from Slyak, finds some space on the payload, but the corner's right there. And the rest of Vulcan are just able to back away from it. And because there was so much shielding done there by Demon's Druid, they no longer have the shield. They've got to wait for it to recharge a little bit. And you cannot hard shield against the Coalescence. Dragon comes out! It catches Demon's Wild in the middle of it, but he's able to back out. Will eventually get him. He went out, he went back in for more, and he had about all he could handle of that ultimate. Vulcan in control, less than 1 minute on the clock now for Platypus to make something happen here.
I think Demon's Druid going back into that dragon was a little bit of a miscommunication on the team's part. The Rhine goes back in, but the call was made. Move out of the dragon, not move into the dragon. It's
Common
just the hokey pokey, Phil. You know, you put your Reinhardt in, you put your Reinhardt out. The damage comes in, and you're back in spawn. That's how that goes, right? So Vulcan are going to be trying to hold this. They know that this is really the next fight that they need to get through, and then realistically, they're going to be able to take this point of King's Road. Platypus, the win condition is going to be surviving this graviton. This is going to be the real deal, and so Sakul is needing to just hold on to the Immortality Field through the entirety of the fight until that one comes on out. Only then can that lamp go down.
High ground rotation comes out from Platypus. They're looking to take the defensive positioning here. They leave Demon's Druid alone on the point. Shatter for Shatter, 2 for 2. Graviton Surge and Lord with a High Noon in the back is going to take Slyak out of the fight. Immortality Field goes down. There's a Nano Boosted Demon's Druid on the points. Nano Boost wears off. Still looking for value here. Overtime Wick ticking down. Big anti from Kazumi finds Ice, but Ice is able to find Kazubel. Mazumi goes down. Demon's Druid finds the wild card. They may just be able to grind this out. The recontest is going to come back in from Vulcan, but they've got to find a way to deal with the bulky tanks here. The Dragon might just be enough to do it. It's going to get Code Eclipse. Demon's Druid, very low. If they can take out that Immortality Field, he will go down. Slyak comes back in on the Genji. Will get the dash reset onto Eternal Soul. Will find the kill onto Nope. It's going to be Slyak with the hero play that may just open this up here. As Mazimi takes Lord out of the fight. Ice comes back in on the Wrecking Ball to keep the contest going. This is looking like it might be Platypus just able to grind this out, but the spin to win, the wash cycle, the spin of death from Ice is on. Won't quite find the ground pound there to keep it going. Slyak reflects the fire strike back in, and they grind this out in overtime, but they are already down in time bank compared to Vulcan.
But they hold the only ultimate on the board, and that is such a huge advantage. They can hold it like a guillotine over Vulcan's head, but Deadeye is going to be coming online now for Lord. Gonna have to worry about defense matrix because Code Eclipse has actually swapped to that Diva trying to get defense matrix going. Ice had swapped to the Hamster, which means Graviton charge reset totally.
Well, oh, Slyak was just about to get that Dragon's Blade online, and he died just as it came on. With less than a minute to go on the clock, Vulcan looks to be in charge of this point for now. Mazimi is able to get a parting blow, but it's going to be the tanks left alone at the mercy of the rest of Vulcan. And at that point, you are nothing so much as ult charge. Demon's Druid needed to die faster.
Sako as well almost got staggered out, but makes it back to the team being on that Lucio, having that speed boost available. Slyok is going to need to come up with the biggest of hero plays, though. It's going to be a Dry Blade. They're going to have to pop Coalescence just to keep this Genji up and alive, and Eternal Assault holds that Shatter, so can put it in as soon as that Genji tries to go near the team.
Slyok takes the high ground for now, waiting for the moment to strike. Pulse Bomb comes out, they trade the wild card for Mazimi. There's the Shatter, 2 on the ground, Sound Barrier on the board for no. It means they no longer have it to deal with the Dragon Blade. The Dragon Strike comes in over the top, and Slyok was looking for heroics, but had nothing left in the tank. The Dragon Blade thrown in, and now it's a valiant last-ditch effort from the DPS of Platypus to keep it going, but we are about to hit 3-1. Code Eclipse will get the contest going in, but now they've burnt the adaptive shield once more. They're ult charged, they're flashed, they're consigned to the refuse heap. That's going to be Vulcan taking us to 3-1 and winning the series.
And that's Moxie's 5-map radar just pinging sadly off into the distance. You can just hear Nope's laughter still echoing alongside it. Well, it's a Moira picking up play of the game, Phil. So you want to talk about a play of the game stealing? Wow. I think Zarya is going to be sitting in the corner whilst... Let's see, who's getting the kills? Some healing, some DPS.
Bit of damage. You know, sometimes play of the games are like that. You take what you give.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, I would have given it to Nope, getting that amazing back gap, but unfortunately,
Indeed.
Overwatch doesn't recognize payload progress or as anything medal worthy or play of the game worthy. Still waiting on that
Could
one.
you imagine a play of the game that was just like a full team moving the payload 20 meters and like on this dramatic music in the background?
It's still better than some of the Brigida play of the games I've seen in my day.
well, maybe.
Well, Phil, I mean, going back a little bit and talking about what we got to see between Vulcan and Platypus, I think there was some big differences. But I would say that Vulcan, when it comes to creativity of strategies, they were up there. And Platypus should have been expecting that Symmetra teleporter. If they had been expecting that Symmetra teleporter, the time bank that Vulcan would have had access to in King's Row would have been so much shorter. And we might have even seen the payload get slowed down before it could even properly start. But Platypus, as it was, they get blindsided by the Symmetra teleporter, they lose point A, and then the map just spirals away from them because of it.
It's unfortunate, but Vulcan seem to really understand that, particularly at this level, aggression is often the name of the game, and they just never gave Platypus a chance to get back until they reached the very end of King's Row. And even then, they took them a few goes at knocking down the door, but they knocked it down eventually. And when you look at what we thought about this team after our control map, where we said, oh, you know, Vulcan have really got to step things up here, we've kind of been made to look stupid because they stepped it up in a big way. Platypus have been shut out in such a big way in this final few maps.
Yeah, so you talk of aggression, and I think the best way that shows Vulcan's aggression is the fact that they put in so many things before Platypus's Genji was able to blade. The Genji has to blade when the rest of the team are just in the spawn room because they've been shattered, they've been crabbed, they've been sound barriered up against. Like, you weren't able to find any pick off of that blade, you weren't able to put it in before Vulcan had just immediately bashed your door down and said, yeah, no, this is our payload, you're not moving it any further.
It's very unfortunate for Platypus, but huge congratulations to Vulcan. A very convincing win. That's all we've got for the EU rookie coverage today, but don't go too far because we do have another match coming up for you. We're moving a step up the rung. We're going over to our intermediate match for today, which is going to be Phobos versus Kitsune. We're going to be bringing that to you after not so long a break, so please don't go too far. We're going to be bringing you more Overwatch action after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I may have lied. It was a bit of a longer break than we really anticipated, but that's somehow just how these things go. But we're back, and we're coming at you with the next step of the intermediate game for this evening. Is going to see Kitsune coming up against Newmoon Phobos. I remain implacably, unchangeably Big Hungry Phil, and with me, still not scared her off yet, is Moxie. Moxie, we're stepping up a level. Are we going to see a consummate step up in level of quality from our players?
Well, we might be seeing something like that, Phil, but we might also be seeing something I know both of us will be dreading, and that is a move away from the zany comfort picks and into the waters of meta. It looks like we're just going to be getting May versus May, McCree versus McCree. Maybe a Reaper is about, I think, the most that we're going to see things mixed up. A little bit of a DPS kind of rodeo. Who do you want to see? Well, we'll be waiting to find out, but I really do feel like these teams are going to be focusing on what is currently at the top of the rung rather than the stuff that makes them feel good playing.
Well, I mean, it's not as big a step up. You know, we're not suddenly going from plat to top 500 players. You know, these are the next ring up, so we're sort of platinum, diamond kind of range. So maybe we're still going to see some of the comfort picks coming out. But talking about our teams, I feel like we ought to touch on what's just happened to Newmoon Phobos because it may have upset their game plan slightly.
Just a little bit, which is a real shame. I think it's Kitsune actually who lost their tank and had to be swapped up to a different role, which means that it may have that knock-on effect on the team's performance, not just on performance, but also communications, because you look at all of these different roles. So you've got the supports who tend to be the ultimate trackers. You've got the DPS who tend to just listen and occasionally chime in with positioning. And then you've got the tanks. And the tanks are very much, most of the time, the shot caller for the team.
But I think you do get some input from the DPS, which is normally something along the lines of "Nanami, Nanami, 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 Nanami,"
and heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me, heal me.
Yeah, very demanding DPS players.
Well, I mean, they have squishy little HP bars, Phil. Sometimes you can just squish a DPS by stepping on it the wrong way. So you can sometimes see.
Certainly somebody's fantasy. Anyway, for those of you unfamiliar with the format, we're going to be playing first to 3 this evening, which looks a little bit like best of 5, but with a couple of subtle differences. And as per usual, we're going to be starting off on our control map for this evening, which is going to be Oasis. Second time we've seen this one this evening. Not necessarily everybody's favorite control map.
Well, no surprise, actually, because it seems like it's the two teams today's favorite map, Phil. They have actually given us that information. Oasis sitting right there at the top of both of these teams' lists when it comes to this map type.
Very unusual. One other thing I would like to point out very quickly, just in case anybody was confused by this. The tank player for Newmoon Phobos is not the Armeng. He's an Overwatch level player. He is not playing Reinhardt for a GitGud team, so sorry to stamp anybody's dreams.
I mean, you don't know. These professional players, they have...
I do.
Yeah.
This is EU, he speaks Chinese.
Into lots of background checks to make sure that people are exactly who they say they are, and so it will be not the Ameng, just going down a bit.
Oh, great with an early kill, finds Luna, but Nightmare fires right back, get the kill with a flashbang, taking Horus off the field. Pringle even gets one with the boop kill. Grey down and out. Jaquini with a follow-up. And I don't think I've ever seen a team fight happen in the bounce tower. That was unusual, but a impressive first fight here for Kitsune. Luna coming back in just in time to secure the seismic slam kill onto Ameng. And once again, not the Ameng.
Yeah, but, well, not the Ameng has built up a shatter, and Neon is pretty close behind that Reinhardt heals. So we do get to see, Phil, this beautiful dance, this ballet that so many people enjoy watching this play out, the mind games as these Reinhardts both try to outdo each other.
Speaking of outdoing, Nyan on the floor, the follow-up there from Grey to take them out of the fight, but Nightmare for easy, strikes back with a kill, and the D-Mech volunteer to find Luna, and now with the Coalescence on the field from Razzlehog, going to press in and start to try and turn this man advantage into a team fight win. We're going to see the mech kill from Kill Me on the 2 Kill Me Please from West. Newmoon Phobos look like they're in a good position to take this, but they've abandoned the point for now to try and get a couple of kills, and the contest is still going on.
Yeah, Kitsune, though, they put in that grab Phil. That's one that you're going to be wanting back. But as it happens, they're still managing to stagger onto this point. The flip not come through.
Nobody can kill this Lucio. Have Pringle with 1 HP and a dream. Kept it going long enough for the rest of Newmoon Phobos to come back in. Kills starting to rack up now for Kitsune, but they're having to throw a lot of energy at this fight just to keep themselves in it. And the point still has only just flipped over.
You are, if you're Newmoon Phobos, though, you're going to have a couple of things to try to make sure that you win at this next fight, because 66% on the board, Phil, for Kitsune. This is not a good position for Newmoon Phobos. They lost so much point percentage purely because that Lucio was able to stay alive. And talking of that Lucio, Pringle now has the sound barrier to match Volunteers, is going to have it online for when Horus has this Blizzard.
There's going to be a lot of mirror matches coming up. We've got Grey and Nightmare Easy both about to close in on that Deadeye. But it's going to be Kitsune opting for the high ground to put Nightmare for Easy up there to make the best use of this high noon. Luckily, Newmoon Phobos are able to position themselves around it. The shadow comes out, and you see the dive coming through there onto Nightmare for Easy. Big cleanup from Newmoon Phobos with 2 from the Deadeye and the team kill bell for good measure.
Yes, but they are going to have to see this next fight through, Phil. Going up against so many tools for Kitsune to access. It's going to be almost everything you want to get a point flip other than that Graviton. You've got sustainability on your side with the Lucio. You've got that initiating Deadeye, which is going to force all of Newmoon Phobos to push back to the point and allow Luna to just get in with that blade.
A lot of that high noon eaten up by the defense matrix. Shadow will come down, won't find anything. And sound barrier coming out from Pringle to keep them alive through this. Luna, 1 with the reset, 1 with the primary fire. Nyan with the strike and the fire strike to get West out of the mech. Secure the kill. Flip the point at 82 to 66.
Okay, so Kitsune, they know what they needed to do. They needed to hold on to that fight and hold on with the blade. Because now you're going to have it for when this Graviton is coming through. And it's going to be a dry blade, yes. But Newmoon Phobos, they're not going to have a sound barrier to see themselves through, Phil. Doesn't matter if it's a dry blade. You can still
Please stop calling them dry blade. This sounds really uncomfortable.
An unnanoed Genji blade.
Okay, much better, thank you. Well, there's going to be the Graviton Surge out. In goes Luna with a Dragon Blade. Finds Grey. That's all they get out of it. But 2 kills this early in the fight's a pretty good deal. Razzlehard fires back, quite literally, with the Coalescence. But Luna able to get 1 with a dash reset, taking Razzlehard out of the fight. Man advantage now to Kitsune. Here's the Blizzard. It's going to be Horus going up against Naomi. Luckily, Kill Me Please gets the Coalescence online, pours that all into the Reinhardt to keep them alive through that. And now it's down to Grey on the Tracer to try and tag enough people to keep themselves in the fight. Join to full spawn and get a kill. Rather than that, they are going to find the Orb of Death coming their way instead. And now, Armeng back on the ball. So maybe that is actually Armeng desperately trying to keep that going, but can't manage it.
So we're seeing from Kitsune a real nice point presence. I think the thing that stands out to me the most about this team, Phil, is the fact that they're holding on to ultimates for when they know that they're going to find value with them. And it's really nice to see. They could have thrown everything but the kitchen sink into it. But no, they know the win conditions, not just for the fight that they're going into, but the fight after that. And they do everything they possibly can in their power to make sure that they keep a hold of them. The Newmoon Phobos, they had some really nice daggers. They were able to get that point for a very nice amount of time. They just need to work a little bit more on the frontline play.
They're going to have their opportunity now. They're going to be coming... Oh, Kitsune are going to be coming out with what they managed to cap that point with the Genji and the McCree. Newmoon Phobos also going to be looking for more of the same. Horus going to be looking for value with that Mei. Definitely not quite the value they might have liked out of it on that last to push. Newmoon Phobos have taken the aggressive positioning for now. Kitsune stuffed up in the small room. Flashbang's going to come up big with Drone getting the first kill. Aiming and Volunteer both down in double quick time. And now Kitsune can afford to press the advantage.
Yeah, and you can stagger out the Mei as well. There, Horus goes just that Diva on point. Gonna be popped straight out of the neck. Looking pretty strong in that first opening fight, and all because of Flashbang. You do remember it's a radius attack, Phil. It can hit multiple people if they're close enough. And Nightmare has built up 90% of a Deadeye. West is actually going to swap off the Diva and onto the Zarya, so no defense matrix to eat it up. It's just going to be reliance on natural cover and a Rhine Shield.
That's going to be a difficult task Nightmare for Easy has the control of the point for now, can reposition to the high ground if they really have to. Oh, early kill though. Gray's going to find Nyan. That's an opener. High Noon in the back's going to force them to walk their way around it. He has to use it to just get the reload and get out of trouble. Luna able to find Armeng in the fight. And this is trading for trading. Gray finds Knight, but Bajorni's still alive and causing trouble. Harpringle one with a boom kill. Finally takes Gray out of the equation. Razahar gets caught by the Fire Strike and taken out. Horus the last of four. Kitsune holding on to the point as we round the 50% marker.
And looking to the ultimates available for both of these teams, Kitsune is going to have this point in their graph once again if all things go to plan. They've got the grab, they've got the blade. Volunteer does not have the sound barrier. Newmoon Phobos, they have no way of negating the Graviton blade.
Shatter comes out, but it doesn't find anything. There's the Graviton Surge on the field. Out comes the Dragon Blade. Finds one with a reset, still looking for value. Will find Volunteer with just that blade. And that's going to be another one-team fight for Kitsune. But in this next fight, we are going to see both the barrier and the blizzard coming into play for Newmoon Phobos.
Yeah, but Kitsune are going to have a get-out-of-jail-free card in the form of Sound Barrier. Not only that, Kill Me Please has now got that Coalescence up as well. You just have to deal with that mate. You just have to make sure that your team stays a little bit separated so that one of the supports does not get caught out with the rest of the group.
Well, here's how we start things off with the Blizzard right up in the choke, but Horus not able to survive the Blizzard, and Nightmare for Easy is going to find West. This is already looking disastrous for Newmoon Phobos. They throw in the sound barrier to hedge their bet, but it's not enough as Armeng goes down. Grey forced the Nightmare Easy, and with what the F Luna just hippity-hopping all over the shop with that dash reset, they're able to round that out, and now it's just going to be Horus hanging in on the Tracer, desperately trying to keep things going. No more contest possible, and Kitsune take an easy 2-0 over Newmoon Phobos to go 1-0 in the series.
So Newmoon Phobos, I think their greatest misplay, at least on that part of Oasis, was swapping the D.Va out for this Zarya. And we'll talk afterwards, because I know how much you love to see your Reinhardt play of the games, and this is sure to be a stonker.
Yeah, nice big shatter with the Blizzard over the top, and then just swinging. Oh, the tracking on this hammer, really impressive.
Yeah, so going back to the misplay that Newmoon Phobos made, swapping the D.Va out for the Zarya, because you're not running anything that can really mitigate the Blizzard if you don't have Sound Barrier already built up. You have no defense matrix, you have no way of trying to eat it, you have no way of eating the damage either that's going to be coming onto your Reinhardt, towards your support, towards the rest of your team. It can be very daunting, I know, to be a D.Va against a Zarya, because you always have that tug of war, where the power dynamic shifts based purely on whether the ultimate's online or not. If the ultimate is online for the Zarya, then the D.Va holds all of the power in her hand. But when it comes to that normal fight, Zarya is the one who takes it, because Beam cannot be defense matrix, so D.Va is literally just food. Battery charge for that Graviton to build up. And I really do think if they'd kept that D.Va there, then they would at least have forced Kitsune to be a little bit more cautious about how they put the Grav in. As it is, they just put it into main, straight into the faces of Newmoon Phobos, and allows their Genji to pull his sword out. You did actually see the defense Deadeye that Newmoon Phobos tried to put in to save themselves, but the McCree was just taken out before he could pull the trigger.
It's very unfortunate. And another thing that I kind of want to touch on a little bit with regards to the D.Va Zarya matchup is I feel like you can run a D.Va to be incredibly aggressive with all of that high-speed repositioning and the amount of damage she can do consistently due to not having to reload and the number of pellets she fires, etc., and so on. But you can also play her very defensively. You know, you can have her peeling for the back line and stopping attackers coming in and eating ults. I feel like with the Zarya, you have to be aggressive. Like, there's no way to be a passive Zarya, because then you get no value, you get no charge on your weapon, you get no ultimate. And so a lot of that is dictating the course of these fights.
Yeah, and you could see that Newmoon Phobos tried to go aggressively because they had that Zarya with them. They tried to go in main. They didn't try to go around the sides. They didn't try to go underneath. They just took so much damage before their foot was even able to reach that point that already those HP bars were almost half. And then Kitsune, because they're the ones in advantage, they're the ones holding the point, they're the ones who have that range over Newmoon Phobos, who've been pelting more damage and more damage and more damage. And that Zarya bubble, you pointed it out, if you don't go aggressive, you don't get charged, but you've only got two. the one for yourself and the one for someone else. Defense matrix is an umbrella. It covers the entirety of the team.
That's a beautiful analogy, Moxie.
Yeah, I mean, I can be poetic.
There's clearly a reason you're an English student. But enough of this. We're going to be very shortly, I hope, moving into our next map. So with one under their belt already, Kitsune are going to be looking to take us to match point as we move into our payload map, which is going to be Dorado for this series. Newmoon Phobos, we've seen them maybe not come up brilliantly against Kitsune in that first matchup. They now have their chance to push back. And we see a lot of the time that control maybe is not the most indicative. So maybe we'll see a more resilient Newmoon Phobos as we move on to Dorado.
Yeah, we do actually see teams just immediately come out of the gates, not do so well on control, and then come completely alive. Almost like entirely different teams that we get to witness going into that second map. And I think Newmoon Phobos do have the foundations that they just need a little bit of tinkering with, that they can be one of those such teams coming in to Dorado, managing to find that victory. I know that I like to see a couple of things on Dorado. I like to see the Mei, as horrible as it makes me feel for saying it, because it really does feel like you're kicking and then shooting a puppy when it's down. But Mei can be extremely strong on this map purely off of the architecture and how it is built up. There are so many places that wall can just snuff out a team fight before it properly starts. But I also like to see defending teams try to take that high ground, try to go for a little bit of that range poke battle, build up a couple more ultimate percentages than the enemies, and then drop down to try to take control of the choke. The danger lies there, Phil, in making sure you time that drop down perfectly, because if anyone drops down too early, they are going to be swarmed by a really angry team of 6 people all baying for their blood.
I think this is one of these maps where you can see a lot of stuff run, particularly on the defense. You know, you see Hanzo, you see Widowmaker, you see a lot of Pharah. It's quite a good Pharah map. We're actually going to be seeing the Junkrat here, Luna, coming out on that particular pick on the defense, and we've got Jukuni on the Hog. This is a spicy setup, Moxie.
Oh, they're gonna set up on the high ground. Jukuni is gonna just be waiting there with that hook to catch anyone passing by from Kitsune. And Luna is just going to be pelting damage in.
Newmoon Phobos
I
on
like
the other hand.
this. This isn't something that we get to see that often, but I really do think that this has some gravitas. This can absolutely pull off.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of synergy missing from this. And given that Newmoon Phobos are running basically the meta composition, Kitsune have to play this more or less perfectly to get the upper hand because the synergy is that much weaker for them. We're going to see Newmoon Phobos push that cart around the corner uncontested for now. Diva of West up onto the high ground briefly, scouting things out. This is going to go uncontested all the way to slope. We need to see a quick reposition here from Kitsune, who look to have not been able to do that much. Luna only at 40%. Now here's where the real hold comes in, as Neon closes the distance and just knocks Grey for 6 and sends them back to spawn. Need to be careful, not quite sure they're spotting the Ana on the right-hand side. Ana just able to completely breeze past the Reinhardt there and reposition the rest of the team onto spawn. And now it's going to be down to a low ground defense for Kitsune.
Really, who's going to win this next fight out is the team that manages to get these support ultimates on their side first. Killme Please is trying to build up to this coalescence. On the other side, you've got Razzlehug trying to build up to this nano. Both these things can break open that team fight. They just need to come online first.
Here's the weird thing, though. The coalescence charges way faster than the nano boost, and Razzlehug up until a second ago was beating Kill Me Please in ult charge, and now they're both online and ready to go. Here's gonna come out the Riptire as well, and he gets 2. Jukuni with the D-Mech from the tire as well. Beautifully played from Kitsune. We will see the coalescence thrown in as well for good measure, but Razzlehug also used the nano there.
Yeah, that is a painful one if you are the Ana. You were wanting that back, especially because you could be using it for Grey to try to give this Deadeye a little bit of presence. As it is, you don't have to worry about a defense matrix, so you can try to find a pick off it. And really, Kitsune need to go for another rotation. They forget the top down again.
Oh, they got it. Out comes the D-Mech. The High Noon's going to come out from Nightmare Eve. It only finds the baby Diva. The High Noon from Grey was interrupted by the Shadow, and the tanks come in and clean up house.
So Kitsune are running this composition where they're basically going for this long range play with spam, and then as soon as it gets close enough, Jakuna can just hook someone in, and immediately the team just swarms on that poor soul. Newmoon Phobos, though, a swap will be coming through. Gray gonna be going on to the Reaper, so that Roadhog, his days may well be numbered. Roadhog and Reaper, long known as counters.
Nope. Hook goes in, nothing happening. In comes the whole hog from the top rope. Looking for something, can't find it. It's going to be Horus with the Blizzard, looking to get something done. The self-destruct comes in over the top, finds 3. Luna tries for the equalizer with the tire, but that's going to be all they wrote. Newmoon Phobos. It took them a little while, but they cracked that one wide.
If you are Kitsune at this moment, you're looking at that Roadhog and you're making a little bit of a swap, because Gray just flanked around all the way to the back, and even though Jakuni had popped the Roadhog whole hog, Gray just went for the shotguns in the face, and then Aiming finishes the job. The only swap coming through, though, is going to be Luna on Doomfist, probably just to try and get that contest going a little bit faster, but they can't manage to touch Phil, and now you're stuck on a hero that can be CC'd out by a mate and a sleep dart.
Well, luckily he will have the high ground advantage here to work with, and Luna already coming up trumps, getting the kill with the rocket punch onto our main. The classic 2-in-1 out. Nighton frozen on the side, gets kept alive by Kill Me Please, and Kitsune retake control of the cards.
And they should be able to hold Newmoon Phobos just a little while longer as well. They've got all of these ultimates to their name. Newmoon Phobos, it's the waiting game for these guys. Volunteer is actually going to go onto the Brigitte, instantly swapping onto another counter to the Doomfist. They've had enough of this guy getting the 1-2 in and out. She's going to be shield bashing him as soon as he tries to dive.
Nightmare for Easy, looking for something with the high noon, can't find it, but in the confusion, Luna gets in, gets a double. Both DPS now off the table for Newmoon Phobos. Kitsune can't afford to go in, they're unlikely to be punished, and they know where they can get that cleanup going. And look at the ults they've got ready for this next fight.
Yeah, they are gonna have so many things, and really, I'm looking less at the ults and more at the value that this Doomfist has been getting, Phil. There's so much CC on the side of Newmoon Phobos. I'm not going to be surprised if we see Gray try to put this Death Blossom in and then immediately swap to the McCree. Because it seems 2 counters just is not enough for Luna to stop.
We may see them pull the cord on the Beyblade here. We might not even get chance here because Luna gets in and gets 3. The Shadow will come out from aiming, but with 3 down already, there's just nobody there to follow up on it.
Luna just being an absolute monster on this. Doomfist showcasing why supports and DPS and tanks alike feared that one DPS when he was so strong. Aiming is actually going to swap to Winston. So they're going to try and dive the back line rather than surviving the frontal assault that is Luna's fists.
Interesting. Well, Gray's going to receive a stun and then gets the rocket punch to the face. Blizzard on the board. Looks like it's going to catch up the Reinhardt. The Reinhardt escapes. Nye unable to charge out of that. It will find Nightmare easy. And with the dive now coming out from Newmoon Phobos on the tank line, they're starting to clear some space. Shadow comes in. It will find aiming. He receives the nano boost to keep him alive through it and is very close to getting the Primal Rage. Where was the Death Blossom? I heard it come out. I couldn't see it anywhere. Gray got nothing with it. Will get Luna when back to primary fire mode. Starting to get the kills now. West able to find Kill Me Please. The rally coming out as well to try and keep them alive through this, but they've got 30 seconds now to get into position and cap this into point C, and they're going to be coming into a whole hog and a high noon. So much space being made by Kitsune.
Yeah, these are 2 things that can just immediately force a team away from that payload, and when you have that 19 seconds in the clock, you know overtime bar is coming in. Horus needs to put a main wall up just right in front of them.
They've secured the man advantage. Luna caught out of position. The Reaper coming with the tanks here is playing such a big role. 1.01 meters on the payload ticker. They managed to get it stopped and were down into overtime. Nyon gets the anti-nade. And the Blizzard is going to come out from Horus. It goes over the top of the payload. It doesn't catch Kill Me Please, who is able to keep him alive through that. The sound barrier comes out, and a massive boot from Pringle takes Gray off the cart in the middle of the Death Blossom. The hook retrieves the Diva from the sky, pulls them back onto the payload, getting ready to get the roundup kill. The final blow with the pilot form Diva down and out. It's down to the monkey scientist. He gets taken out. And Kitsune are able to stop up Newmoon Phobos before they reach point C.
I really would have loved to see that Reaper just swapping off to a McCree. I know why they had him there. I know that they wanted to try to shut the Roadhog down, but so many times Gray was looking for an opportunity to get that teleporter in, to try to put the Death Blossom in, and found his body being slammed into the next wall as Luna just drops in for a friendly meet and greet. I know, you build up an ultimate, you want to see it through, you want to see if you can find some value, but when you compare the amount of damage that Luna, the havoc that Doomfist was wreaking, not onto the backline, but the entirety of Newmoon Phobos, sometimes you just have to prioritize picks over power.
The fact that Luna was able to get kills not just onto squishy targets, but able to isolate and identify when tanks were weak, and he was able to get those insta-kills with the rocket punch was genuinely very impressive. And Newmoon Phobos need to be very scared of Luna in this next round.
Yeah, so you mentioned it earlier. We actually we didn't really get to see the Death Blossom. I don't believe. Maybe you didn't, but Luna actually punches Gray mid Death Blossom animation. He does give up his life for it, but he punched the Reaper away from his team, and his sacrifice was not in vain because it meant Death Blossom finds squat.
That's a heck of a play from Luna. And unless Newmoon Phobos have an answer for him, they're likely to get run over by him once again. And I don't know that Horus moving over to the Junkrat is really the play, unless you can get a clutch trap, perhaps. Jaconi able to take Horus down straight away. The Junkrat trap failing to find anything. And now they can reposition to the choke all they want, but they're going to be a man down in this exchange. They will get Luna on the way out, but 5v5 is looking pretty good. Neon able to push their way in and start swinging. The Mayward not enough to separate him from the rest of the team. Needs to be careful, falling low, but Nyan able to get aiming almost as soon as the words were out of my mouth. And now Kitsune have such a massive advantage. They can just walk this cart all the way to point B.
Luna may not have found the pick this time, but he created the chaos that forced Newmoon Phobos just completely out of position. They panicked. So they had nothing to deal with that Doomfist once the trap strategy failed. Yeah, they're going to be trying to come up to a couple of ultimates in this next contest, but
no.
I don't think Kitsune are even going to allow that to happen before it begins.
Gray came in for the recontest, but it was too little, too late, and instead he came in to be a delicious meal for meters of Kitsune, who can smell blood in the water. They're pressing their way forward, backing off for now, but they did get the supports on the way out. It's going to be another 15 seconds easy before Newmoon Phobos can manage anywhere near a decent attempt at a hold.
And somewhere in the distance you can just see the silhouette of Horus slinking away. Thought about going for a little bit of a flank around the back, perhaps to try to land that tire in with that sort of, you just jump into the enemy team and hope you can pull it off to get a 6k, but we'll think better of it because Kitsune are going to be coming into this next fight with so many things, Phil.
Well, Luna went in deep, used up all of his resources, had to pop the ult just to get out of trouble. Now repositioning back towards his team, but gets sniped out by Gray. They're throwing everything at this. It's a shatter that puts them on the ground between the self-destruct and the rib tire. Kitsune might just about get held out here, but they have the overshield from the sound barrier and they're keeping going for now. Horus in amongst them, throwing in the concussive grenades, will take Jacuni out of the fight, getting halfway towards the ultimate as part of the exchange. Newmoon Phobos look like they may finally get the hold.
And they need to hold on to this though for 4 minutes and 10 seconds. This team are not celebrating just yet. They are not out of danger at all. Because Kitsune, they know that payload is so close. They can just afford to come in with these small pushes, poke and prod away at Newmoon Phobos, build up a couple of ultimates, and then go for that proper massive big push to get that finish line. They are going for a little bit of a weird rotation actually. Reckon is going onto the high ground. This hog is trying to go behind and hook someone. Definitely Horus. Off!
Classic Moose. Hog on the flank styling. Jacuni is going to have the whole hog here. But Gray is able to get in and get a quick 2k with the high noon. Charge into charge for Neon and Ameng. Neon coming up the better there. Out comes the Shadow. The high noon from Nightmare for Easy is going to get 2. This looked like it was a big old loser of a fight for Kitsune, but they're managing to keep this going. Oh no! Nightmare for Easy pops his head around the shield and gets taken out by the self-destruct. But the recontest is likely to be coming in strong for Kitsune. The D-Mech comes out, the kill onto West, and now we've still got... Whoa, what a shadow from Aiming! Puts them on the ground, doesn't find Pringle, puts the overshield on with the sound barrier, and now Jakuni throws in the whole hog as well, buying just an entire world of space. Aiming goes down. We've got Horus coming back in on the Genji, doing their best to keep this going, but there's too much consistent damage coming in from Kitsune. That payload only has a few meters left to go, and the recontest from Newmoon Phobos is looking unlikely in the extreme. Armin comes back in on the ball, stops at a scan 4.36 meters before it gets in. Gray is taken out. We're going to see Luna push forward with the ultimate to try and buy even more space. Aiming goes down. Razuha goes down. The payload rolls into the golden box of victory. And we're at match point 2-0 for Kitsune.
Newmoon Phobos need to figure out this Doomfist problem. You can see that they're trying to get away with it, Phil. They're going for the sort of stick your head under the sand approach, going with the Moira, which I will explain in a second, because it is actually that exact hero. Coming popping coalescence, picking up play of the game, keeping the team alive.
Do you know what? I think that might have been a bit of a steal there. Kill me, please. I think because he got a touch onto the 2 kills from the Riptide, he got credit there. I kind of think that was maybe not his play of the game.
Kill Me Please managed to heal 12.3k, so still praiseworthy, still something to take from it. But no, returning to that point of Newmoon Phobos, they're going for the avoidance tactic, purely looking at how they had their supports lining up, moving off the Ana and onto the Moira. Ana is all about when a Doomfist comes in, you sleep dot him. If you don't land that sleep dot, you're dead. Moira is you listen for the sound of the punch getting wound up, and then you fade out of the way. It's a lot easier as a Moira to evade a Doomfist as it is an Ana. And so they know that the Doomfist is a problem. They know that it's been affecting their backline, but they don't actually put anything really new onto the table other than that Junkrat. And as we've seen Luna do, that Doomfist, I don't think I saw a single time where he got caught out by one of those.
So here's the really weird thing for me. We spoke earlier about the swaps Kitsune were after doing to gather a team for today. Luna was originally on the tank role. Having moved over to the DPS role, I have to wonder if Kitsune would have managed this level of dominance without Luna in that position.
Silver linings. Always look on the bright side of life.
Well,
there's a t-shirt phrase in there somewhere, Phil. I really do think that it's benefited this team having that DPS, although I dread to think what Newmoon Phobos' tank lineup would be looking at right now if Luna is as effective on the tank role as they currently are on that Doomfist, because that would have been something. But I mean, I've talked about what I would like to see Newmoon Phobos do, and that is put a McCree into the mix. Forget about the Junkrat, the traps just haven't been working. You tried the Brigida, that didn't work either. Maybe even a Roadhog, or, and I'm gonna say it now, Sombra. Everyone always sleeps on Sombra, but Sombra versus Doomfist, well, Doomfist, all his abilities are null and void if you can manage to connect the hack, and then that just leaves him as vulnerable as anyone who's being preyed on by a Doomfist.
So the problem with that is that the relative speed of how those 2 heroes works is vastly different. So whilst you're getting the Sombra into position to get the hack on the Doomfist from stealth, from an off angle, the Doomfist has usually come in and got a pick and got out again. And yeah, you hack him, then he can die, but you're still in the 5v5.
Yeah, so what I would say to that is you keep either the Brigitte or you put in a McCree. And then you wait until you try to hack the Doomfist once he's CC'd up. You play Sombra defensively, because it doesn't matter, you don't need EMP, you don't need to hack out the tanks. You just need to put a stop to Luna's antics. Otherwise, Newmoon Phobos are not going to be able to take this next map.
And this next map is going to be our assault map for the series, which is going to be Anubis, which I think, if you're Luna, you've probably got to be pretty happy with. If you look at what we've seen in the Overwatch League recently, the Doomfist on defense here has proven to be very, very strong. So Newmoon Phobos have to be listening to your advice just now and picking something expressly to deal with Luna. Otherwise, they are going to have just a big bad old time here.
Basically, they need to have 2 Doomfist counters, one at the start of their composition and lineup, and the other one on the back, because you don't know where that Doomfist is going to drop down from. There are so many nooks and crannies on Anubis where they can be hiding, where they can jump in, where they can punch a wall somehow through the laws of Overwatch gravity, jump up into the sky, and then land somewhere completely different. You need to have at least one form of CC, both at the front and at the back. You need to be prepared because you know that Doomfist is dropping in. You just need to be able to adapt to where he comes from.
But here's the thing. Newmoon Phobos have had 2 maps now to learn to deal with this Doomfist pick. And so far, they've not really adapted enough to do that. They've got to adapt here, or that's it. The series is done. This is match point. Newmoon Phobos need at least a draw. They need a win here to keep themselves in it. And right now, unless they're having some serious discussions backstage about what they're going to be running, I have fears for them getting any further than this.
Yeah, so they did try to run the Junkrat on Dorado, and I think while it surprised both of us to see it on Dorado, it can find a lot more value on Anubis, especially if you can get that spam damage going down those chokes. But I believe that this team is going to see either that victory or that defeat screen based purely on the composition. If they come out with multiple forms of CC and give Luna an actual run for the money and make Kitsune put some real resources behind that Doomfist, because that's the thing, at the moment, Luna isn't being bubbled. Luna isn't being properly supported by the team, isn't being pocketed, isn't being nano boosted, isn't being mercy boosted. It's just the Doomfist. That's the full terror of this situation. Luna is getting in, having very little support from the team, managing to do enough, know his cooldowns well enough, and then getting out before he can even be turned on.
So that's the point I was going to make, is that you don't need to be protecting Luna because he's got clearly a very good understanding of the Doomfist style. You know, we say it a lot, 2 in, 1 out. And even when he ran out of cooldowns because he went for that extra cheeky kill, straight into the ultimate, buy some time for the cooldowns to come back, maybe get a pick, 2 in, 1 out again. So just very, very good at cycling those, and it is very difficult to interrupt once that Doomfist gets moving.
And that, I think, is what Newmoon Phobos are looking at. They've tried the approach of ignore the Doomfist, deal with the rest of the team. Now they need to deal with the Doomfist, then deal with what's left of Kitsune.
Well, hopefully that should be everybody ready to go. Just to brief you on what happened, we did have a small DC from one of our teams. Newmoon Phobos briefly lost West, but they're back, and we're going to be moving over into Anubis very shortly.
This is going to be a very interesting one. I'm sure we are going to be seeing that Doomfist coming out from the side of Luna. But when it comes to the other DPS alongside them, well, you can take your pick, be it the McCree, the Reaper, or the Mei. All of them can be pretty strong on Anubis.
We've spent a lot of time talking about Luna, but really, Nightmare for Easy has been putting up solid, consistent work on the McCree, making a really good partner here for Luna by punishing anybody that gets too close to try and take them out. And, well, we're not going to be seeing the Doomfist on the defense here.
No, so if you're Newmoon Phobos, you're breathing a big sigh of relief. In fact, looking at the composition that Kitsune are coming out with, this is just spam damage, Phil. This is so much spam damage. This is actually going to be so hard for Newmoon Phobos to navigate because they're going for dive from the looks of it. Grey is actually going to be picking up the Sombra, but it's at the time when the Sombra isn't needed. In fact, it's at the time when the Sombra is going to be a detriment because who are you going to hack? Lucia's going to walk away, the Roadhog's going to hook you, the Moira's going to fade or just damage you with that primary lock-on. And if you go for the McCree or the Junkrat, one of them's going to have a grenade and one of them's going to have a flashbang.
I'm almost certain the Sombra is a scout pick, although they have all gone out of spawn. They just want to learn what they're dealing with.
I feel like they want to try the Sombra EMP.
No, not going to happen. I think on the back of that, you've got to go, okay, we know where they are, guys. We don't think we can run the Sombra, because they can just spam all of these entryways and find you 9 times out of 10.
But
oh, the dive interrupted by the hook from Jakuni. Aiming goes down. The D-Mech comes through. May see the kill come through onto the pilot Diva. Needs to be careful for Kill Me Please to get concussive blasted out of the way, but we'll get back to the safety of the rest of the team.
Grey is sticking with the Sombra, and there's one reason why. They're going to build up to an EMP barrage, but as it is,
come on!
Grey is
Flashbang
finding
from
no
Nightmare
value. Grace finding no value isn't going to have the EMP up, and Horus is so close to that barrage. There is no point. There we go. The swap going through. They've learned to take them a little bit of time, but they're going to try and go for that blizzard and just that wall to allow them to move past the spam composition.
But that was 2 deaths really more than you needed to have. Nyon finds aiming as the jump comes through. It lands on the trap, and they all collapse in on the gorilla, take him out of the fight. I don't think this dive is going to work. They've got to swap off it.
Well, Newmoon Phobos don't think it's gonna work out any longer themselves. They are gonna be keeping Horus on this barrage. They've built it up. They don't want to throw it away. It's gonna be very hard to land though, because not only do you have to worry about a Rhine Shield, you have to worry about a Deadeye, which can just immediately clip your head away.
And even that, if you're too... Oh, hello! We saw the McCree booped into the back line, takes a bit of damage, throws in the High Noon, not finding anything. Hook comes out, but it's going to be Nightmare for Easy, who's the first to fall. Luna with the equalizer takes Arming out of the fight, and now we've got the Rip Tire on the field! The hook into the tire combo. The Australians working in perfect unison. Razzlehaig goes down. We've still got the barrage on the field from Horus, but there's nobody there to follow up on it.
Yeah, I think Newmoon Phobos, they're running into this similar problem of they know what they've got, they know that they've got it built up, and just as they stuck with the Sombra a little bit too long, it feels like they're sticking with the Pharmacy pick a little bit too long. Because again, that Rhine Shield is going to be there, and now you've got 2 support ultimates on the side of Kitsune to deal with. You're going to have to put something in to pull at least one of them out if you want that barrage to find anything.
They've got to hope that they can draw their attention with this main rotation room to buy space for Horus to get something in. But I think they're just going to leave Jakuni back there to try and get something done with that hook. Coalescence into Coalescence. Maywar comes out from Grey. Horus is focused down, still has the barrage. Still doesn't have time to do anything with it. Nyon throws in the shadow, puts aiming on the ground, puts Volunteer on the ground, puts Volunteer in the dirt. Self-destruct's going to find one. The Blizzard comes out as well. Going to allow them to get the kill onto Luna. Pringle throws in the sound barrier, but that might be too little too late. Although Jakuni is still up and finding targets. Aiming goes down. Kill me please falling out to Horus, who still has the barrage. 2 minutes down the line. They've got less than a minute on the clock now, and for Horus to have not found anything with this is criminal.
Horus just hasn't been able to find the opportunity. Every time he pokes his head out, that McCree is just waiting, and Volunteer has actually swapped onto the Lucio, so no more pocket for the Farah. This barrage is going to be a death knell, Phil. It's just a matter of how many bodies you can take with you. And I worry it's just not going to be enough, not with 23 seconds on the clock, not with Jakuni already having a whole hug there to just collapse onto the rest of the team.
Oh, what a hook. The follow-up there was great, and somehow, in the midst of all that chaos, Luna finds Horus again, who dies once more with the barrage online. Luna gets a second, Razzleheart goes down, Armain goes down, there's the High Noon in the back from Nightmare Easy. It just gets the reload. Luna on a tear gets 2. The contest is down. Overtime ticks down. Horus is trying to come in on the Doomfist. It's going to get stunned. That's a complete shutout by Kitsune onto Newmoon Phobos.
Oh, monstrous play coming out from the DPS on the sides of Kitsune and the Roadhog as well, just denying the Farah. But Luna was on the Junkrat, then goes down. It was only, I think, the real casualty in all of those fights. Comes back on the Doomfist, safe in the knowledge. There's nothing to counter him. There's no Brigitte, there's no flashbang, because Newmoon Phobos have just been stubbornly sticking with that Farah time and time and time again, Phil. Really, they lived and died just because that DPS would not swap.
Well, I think it's maybe a touch more complex than that. I think really Newmoon Phobos were falling into the same trap that we saw our previous teams fall into, in that they're just not coming together in a cohesive unit, moving in a way that protects the DPS. And so there was never anybody there for Horus to really trust that somebody had his back or could follow up on all the damage the barrage was going to do. So as much as we'd like to put all of the blame on Horus for not being able to use that barrage, really it's a team fail.
Yeah, if they'd had a Zarya and they'd been able to bubble the Farah so that she would at least be able to move in, if they had an Anna who was able to just focus the Farah down, because as it is, you were running a Moira and a Mercy. Moira is going to be too far away from the action to be able to get any of the healing onto you, and Mercy, well, we've all read the patch notes, Phil. She's not in the best of places when it comes to keeping people up, especially when they're being hard focused down.
Indeed. Well, gonna be Kitsune coming out. They've got Nightmare Easy on the Widow and Luna back on the Genji this time.
Well,
So
it's
kind
not
of
going
a
to be the Doomfist, but it can still be countered by CC. And Newmoon Phobos will be once again putting hopes in that McCree and Junkrat.
Chikuni went for a hook, couldn't find anything. Reflect already offline for Luna, who is somehow at 44% to an Ultimate. Pringle finds Volunteer. One leg is out of the stool already. Nightmare is... This has to be over and done for Newmoon Phobos. There is no coming back for this. This is an easy team fight win and a casual saunter onto the point to secure a 3-0 in the series for Kitsune.
And a casual 90% blade bolt up in the first fight for Luna.
That's genuinely so impressive.
I am speechless when it comes to that Genji play, but Pringle will be walking away with play of the game. Lucio going to be saving his team, or at least doing a little bit of damage.
Just spamming those sound orbs in from above head height, finding the boxes. Takes Grey out. Wow. This whole team has been such a powerhouse.
And I think that's what Newmoon Phobos wanted to be. This is the team, the cohesion, the support, keeping the DPS alive, keeping the tanks alive, the supports being able to stay alive. That is the sort of team cohesion that Newmoon Phobos are working towards. They're just not quite there yet. And as we've pointed out, there are a couple of things that they can do to instantly step their gameplay up. A major one of those being if you put all of your faith into Barrage, you have to dedicate absolutely everything into making sure that Barrage, one, gets the opportunity to go in, and two, actually finds the value that you've been placing on it. Otherwise, you are going to come up with, well, just dirt and broken dreams.
It's got to be so frustrating because actually Horus generated that barrage very, very quickly and then just had to hold it and hold it and hold it because the moment was never right. I maybe would have liked to have seen him come in and just use it early to maybe try and secure one pick. Even if you trade that out, if it's the right pick, if you take out a support, you can easily steamroll that into a fight win.
Yeah, especially because Defender's point is so much further away for their respawn times than it is for the attacking spot. So yeah, you can try to get one of those really nice picks off. Your team can then just rally around the numbers advantage and just try to bulldoze their way onto point with sheer strength. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite play out like that. Probably one for this team to go back, look at, and think about in future.
Well, speaking of the future, we are going to have more games coming for you today. Well, I say today if you're watching in NA, technically tomorrow if you're watching in EU, because that is the end of the EU portion of this broadcast. And next up is going to be the NA division, starting off with Rookie, Team Chaos versus Luigiana Purchase, which you got to love as a name. Won't be myself and Moxie casting that one, but I guarantee you we've got a spicy set of teams and a talented and attractive set of casters coming up for you. But from myself, from Moxie, and from all of our wonderful support staff behind us, running the gears and turning the handles, thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope we'll see you soon for the next ELO Hell GitGud Tournament broadcast.